close this godforsaken timer then.
He goes off randomly during the episode. You're like, fuck, what? Caffeine kicks back in.
Yeah, no, exactly. I have a panic attack from the fucking timer.
Dude, I for real hate alarms and timers. Like, I don't know what it is. I think probably just because of getting up to an alarm, like for school and for work and stuff like that most of my life. I think I have a negative association with that alert sound.
Shit. Yeah, I know like Mark Fisher talked about time and like living in a clock with some of his shit, and that always kind of resonated with me of just being like, I don't know, I have like a bad read on the passage of time. And so then like if I'm like working on a tight schedule, I'm just like constantly checking in on the clock, and it's just not, I don't know, it's weird. It's like a weird structure that's like imposed on the human mind. Anyways, I'm like getting too deep into the fucking time thing. But
no, dude, I like that, bro. I'll talk about time sometime. I actually have a little bit of stuff about time built into my topic for later, and so
talk about time sometime.
Yeah, we'll talk about a little bit of time sometimes. Spend a little time on it.
if time permits.
Yeah. Fuck. All right, we gotta cool it off on the time talk.
Oh, yeah, dude. We gotta keep our powder dry here.
We could start making fucking T-Pass watches and selling as merch.
Dude, I literally had no idea that we were recording this whole time. This is beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, I figured I went ahead and started like 10 minutes ago. We're gonna need to cut out the first bit of it, but because no one wants to hear that. But yeah, I think it probably was good that we can kind of ramp into this now that we're going. So I guess
having a gay old time.
Yeah, we could touch base a little bit about last episode. Last episode, we ended it just kind of abruptly.
Oh, yeah, you wanted to kind of do a revisit of some of the topics, right?
Yeah, like I don't even think we really even talked about the DeSantis thing. I know you said it was in a space, in a Twitter space, and like that was ridiculous. But
it's
like,
so fucking retarded, dude.
What did he like make any? Did he just say I'm running for president now? Like that's it, or was it like? Did he put forth any type of a platform? Is he actually going with Make America Florida again?
I'm not reading that shit. I'm not watching that shit back, and so like I don't know. His like speech might have been something, right? But yeah, I mean, it was just a mess. It was like 40 minutes of just like people talking on hot mics and like technical difficulties, and then him just like kind of being filed into the chat room finally, and just being like, "Hey, this is my pre-written speech," and like, the slogan isn't "Make America Florida." That would be kind of funny, but
that's what I've been hearing.
No, it's something like oh my gosh, I just had Meatball Ron come up on like a YouTube ad, and it was like his first campaign ad.
Like, Meatball Ron.
That's Trump's name for him.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, because DeSantis like gained some weight through COVID.
Oh, okay, it's a little bit of a double entendre, huh? Italian and heavy.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of been making fun of him by like saying like he's Meatball Ron. Like,
Wop DeSantis.
It's gotta cut down on the pasta, empty calories. Yeah, no. God, what the fuck was? It was a dumb slogan. It was like a great American comeback or something like that.
Oh my god. Okay.
Which, to be honest, kind of like I don't know why. I don't know what exactly it would be evoking, but it reminds me so much of Biden's campaign. I don't know exactly why.
Build Back Better.
Was it Build Back Better? I mean, I know that was like the fucking like cabal's like whole talking point.
That's just what I associate with Biden for real. Like Biden's Build Back Better, just triple or quadruple B on it.
Yeah. BBB. Yeah, no. So Great American Comeback or something like that. I don't know.
That makes me think about baseball and county fairs.
And the old ball game. Yeah, I don't know. He is looking a little thick. Yeah, the announcement was a fucking disaster, dude. And like I said, like last week, it's the kind of thing that like boomers do, where they just go like, everything has changed, man. Like I'm the 50-year-old guy who like out of all my fucking old friends, like I understand technology.
Yeah.
And I know that like the wheel has been reinvented now. And so they just do these like really idiotic moves, like thinking that technology means that like you can just announce a presidential campaign on a fucking Twitter space.
Right.
Which again, I think I also mentioned this, but like it's funny because part of the frustrating thing about this too is that it's literally kind of a confirmation of one of these talking points that libs have been saying about Musk, which is like, oh, you laid off all these people, and so like the features on your website don't fucking work.
Yeah, they're buggy.
Yeah, and so all these people are, and that's the other thing. All these people in the chat were like, "Oh, DeSantis, you broke the internet. You broke the internet. You're so popular." And it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. It's really like your parents, you know, Zoom calling you on their iPad.
Yeah, for real. It's literally retarded. It's like, no, you didn't break the internet because he's so popular. You broke the internet because they're trying to do a fucking national news announcement on a Twitter space. It's never built for that. What the fuck are you doing?
No, exactly. You're using a Twitter space for like more than just like 10 schizos from a group chat. Like,
yeah.
This is retarded. What are you doing? And like, and that's the other thing too, is like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't know if this is a function. I'm pretty sure this is a function of Twitter spaces, but it at least is the case with theirs. Like, it was like all audio. Like there was no video component of it.
I think that's what it usually is. It just has your icon.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
That's weird. That's not a good format for a fucking announcement, dude. I want to see your face and how you're presenting. What the fuck?
No, exactly, man. And so it's like...
You're not an anon. You're a fucking presidential candidate, bro.
No, exactly. You're not like... This isn't like... You're not like shilling a fucking... Imagine just like seeing how people promote Substacks and being like, yeah, this is going to be how I raise hype for being the leader of the free world.
That's so crazy.
What the fuck is wrong with you? And so Trump released... I mean, he's going all in.
Oh, hell
right?
Yeah.
And so he released a video making fun of this announcement with like a fake AI generated voiced Twitter like it was like a recreation of the announcement with AI generated voices.
Is it fake Ron DeSantis? Like
it's fake, dude. It sounds really good too.
That's so fake, crazy.
It's fake Ron DeSantis. It's fake Elon Musk because Elon Musk Elon Musk hosted the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like voices AI generated of DeSantis, of Musk, and then like the rest of the people in the space that are also voiced is like Klaus Schwab, Dick Cheney.
Yes.
No. Dick Cheney.
Netanyahu.
Just no, Trump wouldn't do that. He's too much of a Zionist.
Yeah.
Just the FBI and Adolf Hitler.
Holy fuck.
And it's just like all of them just like talking over each other and like,
dude, what?
Just like trying to troubleshoot the tech. It's really fucking funny and it sounds really good. Like it's all AI generated.
Where is this video? Where do you release that at?
I don't know, on the internet. Probably
Truth
on
Social.
Fuck
me,
that.
dude. Yeah. That sounds crazy. It sounds like a Gillian Keeves skit or something. It's fucking great.
It's really fucking funny. So
I'm gonna look that up immediately when we get done recording, and I'm watching it, and I will laugh and laugh.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I think that Trump generally does a pretty good job of like bridging humor that works for people that are like internet literate with stuff that will actually make boomers laugh too.
Oh, definitely.
It's about bringing people together.
I mean, he's a good showman, dude. He's got charisma. Whether or not that means you hate him or you love him, he's getting an emotion out of
The
you.
Greatest Showman 2.
Yeah,
it's just a musical about Trump's presidency,
dude. He's acting in it. He's doing jazz hands and singing.
Dude, yeah, he's squatting down to do a Mike Bloomberg impression. That's legendary. But yeah, no, I mean that was the only topic I could think of that I wanted to revisit because we just kind of briefly, casually glanced over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we kind of briefly, casually glanced over every single thing we talked about last episode. So
I think that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, it's just a quick overview. But dude, that thing you're talking about with the AI voices and Trump's, like, it's essentially a campaign video, I guess, right? Like a campaign ad.
Yeah, 100%.
That brings up a pretty like interesting ethical question. I feel like that we haven't ever really encountered
The
as a
AI stuff
country
for the
yet.
campaign, right?
Right? Yeah, like
Yep.
that's crazy. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is funny in this instance, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's hilarious. And in this instance, it's obviously fake, and it's obviously a comedy thing, right? So the context matters, obviously,
I mean,
but
I don't know. It might have been Adolf Hitler in that call.
Trump got necromanced him up.
But
That's like what all of the power of MAGA was for, so he could bring back Adolf Hitler from the grave to do this one fucking anti-Ron DeSantis hit campaign. That's funny. Dude, now I'm thinking about Adolf Hitler and Little Nicky. I don't know why, but that just popped into my head immediately.
That's so funny. I had Little Nicky come up in conversation the other day.
Such a crazy movie.
I'm not wild about Little Nicky.
No.
I feel like I remember Little Nicky being. I mean, it's not horrible, right? But like Sandler in like the kind of late '90s, early 2000s had just like an absolutely like legendary run of just like dumb kind of like sex comedies.
Yeah.
And like not sex comedies. That's not like American Pie or anything.
Like
but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just dumb guy comedies,
Yeah.
right? And they were good. And I feel like Little Nicky was kind of the last one. And
yeah,
like
it was on a downward slope for sure in the trough area.
Yeah, because I think like I remember the last few being like Big Daddy,
Fire,
and then it was Mr. Deeds, which I always kind of I lump those together for some reason.
Yeah, I do too.
And then Little Nicky, and Little Nicky is just kind of like schizophrenic. Like it was like yes. It was a big like it kind of it was a miss. It was a definite miss, and I don't know that it's a terrible movie, but I don't have any interest in going back to watch it.
No, I'm not going to watch it to figure out. I saw it when I was younger, and my main takeaway was just being disturbed most of the time, and then also like Adam Sandler was kind of grossed me out because he had this whole like, I don't know, greasy hair kind of flipped over his eye emo thing going on.
The whole movie.
Yeah, and I hate that energy. I don't know why. It's not something that I can vibe with well.
Yeah, no. If you're a sweaty guy, don't fucking listen to our show.
No, it's not about sweat, bro.
No. This is what I'm saying. If you sweat at all, I fucking hate you.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Get out. my neighbors are just like, what's going on?
Yeah, you're like, if you're sweating, get out of my house now. They're like, dude, he treats his fucking fiance very poorly.
Yeah, absolutely. She better not be fucking sweating. I want every one of those sweat glands covered. Okay, cover yourself in maxi pads. I want that shit absorbed. Not her. Just anybody. not you, honey. I would never.
Holy shit. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. I think that the Trump AI thing is funny. I think that that's a little bit like we're getting into some weird territory when there's AI that's that.
Oh, well, dude, you knew when it was, when we're at the cusp of some real ethical dilemmas about this, Trump is going to be running right up to that line.
Fuck yeah,
and this isn't going to be the last time, too. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this just became like a central part of his entire fucking campaign strategy. I don't think he's going to go so far as to literally put out dishonest clips to actually try to mislead people. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the media will paint it that way, that that's what he is doing. But I think he'll fuck with people with this.
He definitely will.
I think he'll do it for the whole fucking election.
I mean, dude, it sounds like this was a banger, and so I mean, you're gonna want to build on that energy for sure. So if it works, you use it. Imagine if he had this technology during the fucking Hillary Clinton campaign.
Oh yeah.
I would have loved it, man. He could just
honestly, imagine just all of the energy that was going on at that time if fucking AI had been. Yeah,
that's actually kind of terrifying, but
yeah, no, I mean it's it's not. I don't know. I'm as the AI stuff has continued, it's bad, right? I do think it's bad, but it's also just kind of one of these things. It's just I'm not really that disturbed by it, really, because it's all pre-digested information.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy writing, and
Mm-hmm.
so I know, like, I have a D&D group, and everybody else in the D&D group has been like using AI generated text to like help them prep their like games.
Like they'll put
And
in the plot lines that they're looking for, and then have them fill out the rest of it.
yeah, or you can even just like describe like, hey, OpenAI, like I want this to be like a fantasy city on the sea, with this run by wizards and yada, and then it'll spit out like a couple paragraphs that like really flesh this setting out, and it's
Huh.
cool. I like I just have no. I'm not tempted to do that
Right.
because honestly, it reminds me of um, there's like a okay, there's like video games where you can just pay really grindy video games that take a really long time to get to. Like this is a dumbass example, but there's like Final Fantasy 14 is like World of Warcraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like an MMORPG, and a lot of people will just pay the game service to skip them to end game content so that they can just like play with their friends and not have to like play the like 30-hour campaign or whatever.
And AI is kind of like that.
Well, dude, it's one of these things of just like I would never pay money to not have to play the game that I bought.
Right.
That
right.
doesn't make any sense.
It's
Like
nuts.
I'm just I just can't really justify that to myself. And it's one of these things where it's like I like run D&D games because I think it's fun to sit down and come up with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to like go and like ask a robot to do all of like the creativity for me.
Outsource all of your creative abilities to some machine.
Exactly. So I really have no interest in that. As far as like how impressive it is and all that, again, I really haven't. The only extent to which I've fucked with this stuff has been image generators.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of fun, and I've only done that very minimally, right? But like, I don't find it particularly impressive to be.
No.
I mean, it is, but like in a way that logically, like, hold on, let me organize my thoughts here a little bit. Okay, it's impressive. But it's not impressive as in like I'm seeing something that like I'm having a hard time explaining,
right.
or that seems authentically new,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like no, like this seems like logically the progression of just how like information in the digital age works. Like
100%.
Of course, it was going to arrive at this point at some point. And I can kind of intuitively understand what the machine is doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not mind blowing to me. If I can rationally, like I see something happen and I'm just like, oh, I instantly understand what's happening here. That's not insane and game changing to me.
Mm-hmm. It's not the same visceral like reaction that you have when something's impressive in the way that's like, oh, this is something that I haven't encountered before, or this is something that like I am overwhelmed with by trying to take it all in, or this is, it's something that you can, like you're saying, it's easily digestible.
I mean, even like, to be honest, like the invention of the iPhone was crazier to me. Like,
no, dude,
I remember just being like, I didn't know that like the big huge box for your PC was like optional and that you could just carry that around in your pocket. That is crazy to me,
mm-hmm.
right? But just like AI just being like, oh, like people can get really interesting with how they're presenting the organization of like already existing information.
Yeah.
Is not crazy to me. That's not crazy to me. Even the video stuff. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's all just pixels on a screen. Like you can kind of just,
mm-hmm.
Now having said that, it still is incredibly complex. And I think I said a second ago, like it's not game changing. It is game changing, right? It is game changing in a lot of ways, right? Not least of which being like, I'm really excited to see how it affects video game design, because I think that there's probably a lot of mindless grunt work that goes into these things that can just be completely thrown out the window.
Same with coding and stuff like that for website design and such.
Oh yeah.
Which I think they already operate with a lot of AI when you're doing that. I think you probably code in an AI that would do the rest of the coding and stuff for you for them, or like at least a large part of it.
Yeah, there's stuff with my current job where like I was needing to kind of basically check in a little bit at least kind of every day. Like I didn't have to, but it was kind of one of these things where it's like it was all so manual that like it was a little bit hard for me to have like a full weekend without at least popping in for 5 minutes to make sure the wheels are turning. And we've automated a few things, and now like I get weekends.
I mean, dude, as far as like office work and communication and stuff like that, it's major. Like I worked at a place that was doing all paper. It was like a clinic, and they was doing like nothing via any online system except for credit card payments. They did through like some third party thing.
Sure.
And they were doing like client files, paper and by hand, calling everyone, emailing every email like by hand, etc. for confirmations for whatever. And it's like work like that just piled up. And then after working there for a second, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Just get like this office management suite that you can get on your computer, and you can just put all the information in. There's a lot more work on the front end to like scan your stuff in. But once you do, you can like have the computer send out confirmation emails, send out follow-up emails, send out, those things automatically for you. You just put in
like
lists.
Form fillable emails are just like not something that you need to be wasting your fucking time doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I do want to be. We talked about this a little bit last week, but I do just want to be like a little bit careful about always falling into the habit of just bemoaning technology making the work lives of people easier. It's like it's one of these things. It's like, yes, like does that? I mean, honestly, like has the automation literally meant that like I have less hours in the week that I can spend on certain tasks, and like it took some of my work away from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true, right? Is this going to render some jobs moot? Yes, that's true, but like, dude, I mean, like, let's not act like what kind of where are we at if we're just like mourning the loss of jobs that are just like punching in
data collection,
exactly,
data input,
man, like come on.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's fucked. I think that I think it comes down to essentially what you were saying earlier with like, if it's something that's going to make your life easier in the scope of work, it's grunt work, it's minute stuff that doesn't involve heart or soul or creative process or whatever. I think that stuff, it's good to go ahead and automate that stuff out, like to an extent, right? But like when it comes down to, trying to look to it for creative inspiration, or to do your creative process, or to outsource any type of like additional thinking that you need to do, that's where I think it's a problem. I'm not really worried about AI in the sense that I'm like, oh, AI is going to take everything over. But I'm more so worried about it as like, we're going to make ourselves more and more stupid and less able.
That's already happening.
Yeah, of course. And we've been doing it with just the technology that we have pre-AI, through, just absorbing stuff on phones and just kind of being overstimulated and just kind of being in this weird frenzy of info all the time. But I think that we've started to outsource things like by Googling stuff, instead of knowing shit and stuff like that, which is very boomer take, right? But like, that's actually real. And then as that continues down, like instead of being able to actually write a fucking paragraph, people are just going to put a combination of ideas into a machine and it's going to write them a paragraph. And it's like, I think that stuff like that is somewhat important just because it keeps you sharp and like mentally able.
Dude, the thing that I've been thinking about with it, I'm like totally 100% springboarding off what you just said. Like it's okay. Like, it's making me understand like what the issues with what we actually consider art. So like, okay, so like you can generate the fantasy city, right, and have it be authentically helpful to you as it's spit out by this AI, and it's going to do a good job of it. because you're doing fucking genre fiction.
Right.
So all it's doing is it's just scraping the internet to find basically just like genre conventions of this thing you're doing, right? And then just kind of piecing it together in like a really sound way, right? I mean, you just think about like this is the difference between like, you know, some like really artful Tarkovsky or P.T. Anderson film versus like a Fast and the Furious movie, right?
Dude,
like
yeah.
Fast and the Furious is fine, right? It's like mostly following a really tried and true formula, right? And like you can enjoy that, and that's fine, right? But like now it's kind of bringing to the forefront, like the Fast and the Furious movies will like arguably be better written by AI, right? And I don't think that like transcendent pieces of art, I really don't. And this is where the, you know, a big philosophical point comes in, right? But like I don't think that that like a meaningful artistic piece like those Tarkovsky or P.T. Anderson movies I mentioned are really going to be what you get from AI. And so yeah, I guess it just is kind of one of these things, right? Of just like I don't even necessarily know that there's like I guess it gives an opportunity to like take it invites us to just take a sec and like maybe kind of like critically look at like the little fantasy stories you're telling in D&D and go like, I mean, maybe there is a hierarchy here, and like these literally just like genre fiction just literally isn't as artful as something else, right? You're kind of, it is kind of by virtue of what it is a sort of cookie cutter already. And yeah, now the point you made just about like it makes people less creative, it makes people lazier and dumber and all that, that's literally still going to be the case.
Yeah.
And so that's also part of like I don't think that there's any good that'll come of it really, because it'll probably just make me more complacent and more lazy. But again, also I'm just literally not tempted to do it because I find writing to be not only easy but just like an enjoyable thing.
Yeah, it's fulfilling.
Yeah,
I mean, it's using your mind. It's taking something that you are originating within your mind and then fleshing it out to be like a real concept, and then putting pen to paper to make that concept physically represented in our natural plane. And like that in itself that's big. That's an important thing to do. That's a rewarding thing to do when you can take an idea and make it something that's more than an idea, make it something that can be expressed and understood by others. That's part of what makes us human. And so like trying to offshore that, or have a computer do that for us, I think is kind of taking away what it means to be human a little bit, because I think that fundamentally that's a lot of what sets us apart from other forms of life, is that ability to convey thought like that, to communicate, to express, and to create generally. And so I think that like passing that off to a machine is a little bit just kind of cheapening the process, because it's not just about the concept, it's about the entire process of creating the thing that you're creating to convey the concept to. So like, I don't know, I think that just putting some concepts into a generator and then getting what it generates out is not necessarily art, but like you could sit down with those same concepts like you're doing, and what you're doing and writing it out, I would consider to be more artful than like taking concepts and putting it into a machine.
Totally. I think like I could see, having a machine spit out ideas to give you a place to start with your brainstorming, and I think there's a lot of value in that. But again, I'm just not tempted to do so, because there's no reason for me to be like, I'm not up to this task. I need that. It's just like, it's fucking, I've always been of the mind with creativity. And I've talked to people enough about this to where I've figured out that this definitely does not describe everyone, though I think it describes more people than they think. I don't think that ideas are particularly difficult to come up with or particularly valuable, to be honest. I think it's about the execution of ideas. And like I bet you could probably relate with this. I've been in so many bands and worked with people creatively that have these kind of like delusions of grandeur when it comes to when it comes to just artistic expression, where it's almost narcissism, right? It's this kind of like, well, I'm the main character in my story, and I've been raised to be convinced that I'm super special, and I have all these ideas in my head, and so obviously, like, the realm of my thoughts and the physical world can just be one-to-one, and all I need to do is just one of these days they'll just come out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And people do that, and to I have a whole lot of thoughts on this, and I'm just giving like a helicopter view of it, but I think that this is rooted in some basic transhumanist assumptions and mind-body dualism, and just not being rooted in like the liturgy of the body, not being rooted in your actual physical form, because just this idea of just like reality is made up of just ideas, and like my body and the physical world is just like something that you can kind of just hand wave away. The fact is that like, and this is why I think, and I've talked about this before, I think that like John Carpenter is just like a fucking super based director, because he like treats directing and writing a score and producing all of this shit as like a trade. He's like a working class guy kind of thing. At least like as far, I mean, not class wise, right? But I mean, as far as just like his approach to the process. And it all just comes back to my main point that I'm basically trying to make, which is just like the ideas are important, right? But they're not worth anything if you don't have the skills to actually express and execute on them. And that's like 80% of it. That's like 90% of it.
Yeah, it's more than 80. It's like that's fundamentally all of it, because I mean, an idea is not shit unless you actually convey it and you materialize it. I mean, it could be nothing. Ideas are just things that pop into our heads and then stick around for a little while and then kind of go on their way. And like, if you don't do anything with it, then that's not an issue. It's not anything.
No, and that's the thing, is like, I think that genius does exist. I don't want to deny that, but I do think that we overemphasize it when we look at art and we look at just creativity in general, of just this kind of the great man view, but of art. Right. And it absolutely exists. Right. There are people that are just tapped into just that raw creation. Absolutely. Right. But like, more than anything, the big distinguishing factor isn't just like someone being born with the more creative spirit. It's like, more than anything, like, it's people having enough grit to develop the skills to bridge the gap between the realm of ideas and the physical world.
Right. And then through that process, the thing that you're creating is going to be created in a more significant way, because you're actually putting in, like, it's not just going to be the idea. It's going to be the idea filtered through your years of expertise in working towards creation and trying to better yourself and trying to better those skills. And then that's going to be tinged with all the emotion that goes along with that when it comes out as a final product. And that's something that is altogether more valuable than the idea itself. And it's going to be ultimately a little different, because ideas exist as ideas, and then they're separate from reality to an extent. And so when it comes back out into reality, it has to be shaped by all those different faculties, right? And so that's really what makes the art, the product, the thing. That's what makes it. It's how you make it, not what your idea was of it, but it's fundamentally how you translate that idea into reality.
Yep. And I think that I think that art a lot of the time just becomes this thing where people go like, well, you know, there's a dissonance between what my mom told me about me just being the specialist little boy in the world and my actual relationship with the world. And art is just going to be this thing where, like, one of these days I'm going to be the girl from the 80s movie that, like, takes her glasses off.
Everyone's like, oh my God, you are a genius.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is that you don't need to actually get real about the person you really are and the limitations. You just still get to be the the like Mary Sue, good at everything main character of the story, who just like isn't expressing any of that stuff right now, but like one of these days, right? And I remember like when I was younger, I played in a band or two. I played in a band where they like refused to play shows, right? And it was this constant thing of like, no, like we're not playing house shows. We're not going to do any gigs. Like we're going to like record an album and then like release it and play big shows, and it's gonna be the biggest thing in the world. It's gonna be literally, right? And it's like, dude, like you guys realize that like the Strokes did that, right? Because like the Strokes like were related to people in the music industry. Right. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
a different game than entirely than
it's not. I mean, that's not even. I mean, sure, that of course that's going to be the case too, right? But it's literally just like that strategy that you're laying out there, right, is just nepotism that only exists for. And like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, I'm using the Strokes as an example because it's a really clear example to me because like growing up, the Strokes were like my favorite band, right? And they're really, really great, or their first couple albums were really, really great, right? But like their first album blew up. It was a big deal before anyone knew who they were because just like they were related to people in the music industry. They like fucking knew Phil Spector, shit like that, right? Like that. This isn't how it works for people, right? And so then me being the only one out of that musical group who actually went on to continue to invest in music and continue to actually go and invest into people that were really going out and
doing it
and doing the work, right? and this is shit that you know, honestly, even better than me because I've never been on fucking tour. Is just like, dude, it's a job. It's a fucking job, and like it's not, dude. The next show you play isn't gonna be like, it's not just gonna be one of these things of like, oh man, like. It's like the happy ending version of like Inside Llewyn Davis, where you're just like, I'm gonna play a set and there's gonna be a producer there, and life's gonna begin at this one point, right? And that's literally not how it works. Like, probably the best thing to do, and I don't want to get too bogged down with like the music example or something, but like my buddy talks about this, right? Like, probably the best, most like reliable and realistic way to actually do this shit is like, dude, like start your own label, self-publish shit, right? Don't be beholden to people, and just like build like a humble but like steady, basically the equivalent of like a solid, dependable, like middle class-ish life.
Yeah, for sure. Try to make yourself so where you can like, you gotta limit the way that you live to a certain extent and be realistic about what you can achieve and like how you need to set your life up to make it so you can like actually do that in a comfortable way. Because you're not going to like, if you go into it with the idea that I'm going to make an album and then it's going to go out and then it's going to get heard by a producer and then I'm going to be playing like stadiums or something, that's just not going to happen. And you're going to limit yourself too, because you're never actually going to get out there and put in the work. Like, you're never going to get out there and actually play in front of an audience, see what works, what doesn't, figure out how to get comfortable in those moments. And you're not going to get a chance to fucking run your material, dude. Like, the way that I look at it, and this is any creative process, I look at it almost like stand-up comedy in a way. Like the way that comedians,
just gonna say that,
they just go out and they got to go run their hour, and then they figure out what works.
They bomb, bro.
Right. And they bomb, and they figure out what works and what doesn't, and they try out new material, and it's just about running their hour. They might have a bad set, but that bad set might be what makes them a stronger comedian going forward. And like, that's the way I look at the creative process, is you just got to put your ass on the line and do it. Like, you just got to put your nuts on the table at some point in time and force yourself to do the thing that you want to do. And then you'll start doing it. It's like jumping into the deep end and you learn how to swim. You just got to fucking do it. Because if you don't actually do that, the rubber will never meet the road. And if it doesn't, you're going to be limiting yourself in the long run. If you're trying to stick around and say like, well, I'm not going to play until I'm big enough to play a big show, or I'm not going to play until I have my sound exactly the way I want it, then you will never do it. So, and it's the same thing with painting. It's the same thing with writing, with submitting anything for publishing consideration, film. It's the same, comedy, all of it, all stuff like that. You have to just go and do the thing, because in the creative process itself, in the act of creation, in the moment, that's where you learn. It's not about sitting back and having these high-minded thoughts about the creative process and, where does it come from, this and that, the other. It's about actually doing it and putting, rubber to the road, and that's how you actually do it.
100%. And I think that honestly, it's like a lot of people think that getting into the creative life is, and I want to qualify it really fast, like, compared to a lot of people I know, I am totally I took the sampler of the creative life. Like I know people that really went all in, and I commend it, and that's not exactly what I did, right? But I mean, you even, right? You do it a lot more than I do, so I don't want to necessarily act like I know everything, right, or anything like that. But it's just there are people that expect that to be okay, yeah, I'm gonna go up on stage and it's just gonna be that that 80s ugly girl moment thing, right? Let my hair down, everyone's just gonna, and then the clouds are gonna part, and then Einstein is gonna say I'm a smart guy, and God is gonna clap for me, and it's
yeah,
and my
gonna
dad
reach down and touch you.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad is gonna come back from getting cigarettes, and it's gonna be amazing, right? And what it actually is budgeting. If you're going to open mics a few times a week, how many what you can actually afford as far as getting a drink when you go,
right?
You know what I mean?
Figuring out how to actually just make it work in reality.
Exactly. It's a lot more just a job than people
100%
think, right? And anybody that's and dude, this is the case for anything when it comes to making money, doing work. If it seems like you're just absolutely escaping needing to do a job at all, right, and it feels too good to be true, it is, bro. It is. And I'm still on cloud 9, not needing to go in and fucking just live through what I'm just calling just the absolute humiliation ritual of doing customer service and shit like that. I'm still riding high, not needing to do that anymore. But there are aspects of my fucking job that I don't love.
Yeah.
And it's still work. And that's good, bro. Because if that didn't exist, then you're probably in a fucking pyramid scheme.
Or you're probably literally not existing, because that's just not real.
Yeah, no, exactly. You should pinch yourself because you're in a dream.
Yeah, fairy tale shit.
Fairy tale shit. You've died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, for me, I think there's always this dichotomy where people are you don't want to do what you love for work because it's gonna get you dragged down or whatever, or
and there's truth to that.
Yeah, or you're gonna have this idea that it's not work, and then you're gonna find out it is work, and you're gonna be upset about it.
Ruins it for you.
For me, it's I've spent a lot of my life doing jobs I absolutely don't want to do and have no connection to at all. And so, for me, I view my creative pursuits as not a way to, escape work in any way, but instead to just transition my work into something that's more meaningful for my soul's existence. For what I feel aligns with the way I want to live my life, what I feel aligns with how what my soul wants and needs in order to exist in harmony with kind of what I feel is my proper life path. Sure. It's getting in line with, my passions and then lining those up with the majority of my time. So a way to shift my time so that a lot more of my day-to-day time is spent on things that are creating or whatever I'm passionate about, which is going to still be work. And fundamentally, I'm going to view it still as work. For my band, I put in as much work there as I do, doing any other type of work that I do in my life. It's not as physical as the landscaping and, stuff like that I do on a day-to-day basis. But I put forth a lot more of my individual time and effort into behind the scenes stuff for communication or organization stuff, administrative things, a bunch of shit like that, or just even driving around day to day, going from gig to gig, shit like that. That's the work aspect of it. And it's right. I'm okay with that work because it's tied to a payoff of me actually getting to express myself, create the way I want to, and it's providing the space for me to do that and opening up the time for me to do that. It's almost like an investment where the payoff is that you have a little bit more say in your life's direction. And it's not necessarily about escaping any type of labor or work or anything, because that'll fundamentally never happen. You could escape a meaningless job that you're not attached to, but you're not going to escape having to actually put forth effort in life unless you're someone that is living on a trust fund or just like a dope head.
Right. 100%. I think about Gary Shandling, this like comedian, would I don't know why, but I keep just like I'm looking at his page on Google, and I just keep like reading his name in like a Chinese accent of like, oh, like American comedian Gary Shandling.
Gary Shandling.
American comedian Gary Shandling, right? The shit people talk about is like this guy would sit down for like hours a day and just write fucking jokes, endlessly, dude. Mm-hmm. And that was his whole thing. He was like, dude, if you actually want to do good and you actually want to have good fucking material and get better as a comic, you need to sit down and you need to treat it like a fucking job where you have a desk and you like clock in and clock out every day. Mm-hmm. And you sit down and you just write, dude. Yeah. And this guy had so much fucking material. And like, that's crazy. That's wild, dude.
That's how he's so prolific, though. Or fucking, what the hell am I even saying? Prolific. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
We can just say prolific.
Yeah, I don't know what I said. It sounded like a medication.
Prolific American comedian Gary Shandling.
Oh, God. But yeah, dude, that's how he was so prolific, is that like he did that, and that's what it's about. Like that's the putting the rubber to the road. Prolific.
Yeah. Anyways, I love our Asian listeners.
Yeah, I mean, end Asian hate, Asian American Pacific Islander month, whatever. We love them. Brown people are good.
Industrious people.
Very smart, very industrious peoples.
But so anyways, like. Yeah, it's I think just treating it as in our culture of narcissism, mm-hmm. like this abstraction of art becomes like this kind of, I'm totally gonna sound like I have my head up my ass, but it's like this abstracted version of art becomes like a version of the afterlife in secular society. Right? It becomes this like, one of these days I'll become fully, completely self-actualized and perfect. Mm-hmm. And that day will come when I can just let my hair down and express myself fully, and people can see how amazing and creative I am. And it's like, you're describing heaven. You're mm-hmm. describing heaven and like a perfect form. And that's literally not what art is, right? And like, art is... Dude, I think this is literally the first episode, right? I think about the scene in The Sopranos where oh my god, dude, this is such a fucking good example, honestly. I'm so smart. Where Tony sits down with his daughter, and it's Autumn, right? He sits down with Autumn, and they're checking out colleges.
It's fucking no, it's not Autumn. It starts with an M.
God, I thought her name was Autumn.
No, hold on. Fuck, this is gonna drive me nuts now.
Yeah, you're looking it up.
Okay, I'm looking it up. So, Brent,
Meadow.
Yeah. It's similar to Autumn, I guess. There's leaves and.
Autumn, what the fuck am I thinking? Well, Meadow is you know.
Yeah, it's environmental.
Yeah, exactly. I was on the trail. No, dude. So this broad, she's they're this broad, the character of his daughter, that broad. They're checking out colleges, right? And they sit down on, in a pew in like a chapel on some campus, right? Pretty common, like on the East Coast, right? And he's like, you're like great grandfather, like helped build this place. And they like came over from Italy, and nobody knew how to build shit like this but them. Mm-hmm. And like they put that glass in there. They like put the stones in. And they built this place themselves. They obviously had help, but like they fucking did this with their own fucking hands, and it's still here. And the whole right, it's a nice moment because her whole thing is she's like, oh my dad's annoying and I hate him and I'm like a teenager. But they like shared this moment where they're like, wow, like we're like living in this amazing legacy, mm-hmm. or we're in this moment, we're in this amazing And it's like that, right? Like I love that fucking craftsman view of art.
Yeah, I think that art, I think what you're saying with the way that it kind of makes it like this eschatology or something almost, where it separates it and puts it off in this other world, I think that's wrong. I think that art is fundamentally tied to the creative process and the act of creation.
Well, it's not eschatology. Eschatology is like the study of the end of the world.
Oh, okay, well, okay, not eschatology, but this,
All right, sorry, not
this
so well actually,
thing.
you, but I just want to help you out with that one.
Yeah, help me out with that one. Help me out when you can, dude, because sometimes I'm swimming in water that's a bit deeper than I'm used to.
but this is part of one of the things I was going to say, and I'm this is going to be short. I don't want to cut you off too much, but it's like the same thing as like if you want to be a normal person with an intellectual practice, just the same as being an artist with an artistic practice, you need to literally immediately just kill the part of you that's like, I'm afraid of being seen as dumb or not talented. Because it's like, if you want to get talented, you need to spend hours fucking up and being looked at as an incompetent boob. And if you want to actually be an intellectual, you need to fucking just be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna fuck up countless times, and that's fine.
Yeah, you're not gonna create anything perfect right off the bat. The only person that did that ever was God. He did it, and then it was good. But you're gonna do a bunch of things,
and it was good.
and you're gonna do a bunch of things, and they're not good.
They're gonna be actively bad.
But then you'll do things that are good, and you'll be like, "Wow, this is a beautiful moment. And this is such a powerful thing." And like that, I think that's really what it is. Is that it's about the process of doing it. It's about putting in the work. And so like you need to sit down and create shit. I think that we have a duty fundamentally to create as people, because I think that as people, we are created in God's image, or we are fractals of the universal being, or we are thoughts in the mind of God, or whatever you want to fucking, however you want to contextualize that. We are given certain God-given abilities to ourselves, and one of those things is the creative faculties, the power of intention, the power of vision, of imagination, and then the ability to pair that with work, with the knowledge of how to get that vision into something that's in the physical world, something that can be conveyed, expressed, understood. I think fundamentally that's a lot of what separates us from animals, from other forms of life. And I think that's one of the main big things that we share with God, with the divine realm of being, with the universe, with whatever energy you want to call it, is our ability to create and to express that way. And I think that expression and creation is something that we were given for a reason. I think that we're here on Earth to be stewards of the material plane, to be here in order to, carry out God's will on Earth as well as we can. And I think that fundamentally a lot of that has to do with the creative faculties, not just making art, but shaping the world around us one way or another, expressing ideas one way or another, conveying deeper truths, conveying our perspective. Because fundamentally, I think that the nature of life itself, or capital R reality, is kind of like a dodecahedron, or a big, really big polygon or something that's got a bunch of different sides. And we're kind of stuck in this one 2D view, each individual person, where we're seeing just one flat side of that. So to us, it may look like it's a hexagon, right? And so we're going to say, this is a hexagon, this is how things are. But, everyone else is seeing a different side of it, and their sides may look like something else. And they're all just small fractals of what it is. And it's not really a full look at the full picture. But if we all are able to convey the things that we're seeing within our unique own perspective to the best of our abilities through training our creative faculties, our intuitive processes, etc., and then expressing those, learning how to communicate with others well and freely, how to earnestly express oneself rather than getting caught up into, pre-made boxes or lines of thought or whatever. If we can really get down to the core essence of our individual being and express what our soul is seeing in the world around us to our best ability and put that out, and then that kind of comes in together with the same expressions but from other people, we have a better way to kind of synthesize all of those visions of reality into one more solid understanding of what we're actually dealing with. It unites people in that way. It creates a shared field of being where it can reconcile previously disparate points of view. And I think that that is something that's fundamentally a big part of our journey as people on the planet, and like our destiny as a race of people, is that's how we lead towards unity, is by trying to really get to the root of what we can express about the nature of life around us, and then listening to the other people's and taking those in and putting it together. And I think that it's our duty to try to do that. And art can be a way that you do that. Landscaping can be a way that you do that. Fucking craftsmanship can be a way that you do that. Child rearing can be a way that you do that. All sorts of things, but they're all fundamentally tied to creation and the creative process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, denying that the soul exists, which to me is at the heart of all of this, right? Whether or not the soul exists is just like the biggest fucking cope that one can possibly do. And like I think that and I've said this, I think I've said this every fucking time we've talked about AI. And honestly, to that point, I'd love for us to pivot to another topic in a sec here.
Yeah.
But I think that it's nice because it kind of holds people's feet to the fire of just being like, nah, like we like kind of have to reckon with the fact that like the soul kind of very obviously does exist. You know, a computer isn't really able to. It just isn't able to like recreate the warmth of like of a person's touch, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like materialist nonsense to act like it does. And I think like when we see things that kind of profane that idea, right? Like fucking metaverse, you know, just strap into your fleshlight and get your IV of protein going. It's like it like offends us on like a really, really deep spiritual level.
100%.
And there's like very obviously a reason for that.
It's
and
blasphemous.
Like no, 100%. And that needs to be you know, considered and acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can table that, I guess, for now, a conversation on creativity and the soul and such, because I imagine we will come back to that in other episodes, because it's a pretty common topic of discussion.
Well, and honestly, I even just kind of think like just like this whole idea of kind of having like an abstract topic that we talk about that maybe you kind of come up with. I don't want to get too meta while we're recording here, but you know the plan we've been talking about. Oh, meta. Oh, God.
Sorry,
I just instantly kill myself. Like I think that it's also just like kind of a good way of maybe just even having a theme for the episode, because we're gonna come back to it, you know. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you want to talk about after this? I mean, I guess the next thing I have up is the RFK stuff. That was interesting. I don't think we spoke about it yet.
No, we've touched on RFK a little bit in the past. I think since then I probably turned a little bit. Like I'm more open to RFK just generally because I like the stuff he's saying. He seems. I feel
like we've soured on DeSantis and warmed up on
yeah, we're voting dim this year.
Yeah, no, I can't believe it. Well, I mean, I'm still oh God. Yeah, time's a flat circle, and I just want to.
Holy fuck!
It's a nightmare I want to wake up from.
Honestly.
No, yeah, I don't know. Did you see any of this? I don't know why I'm even asking. I guarantee you didn't see it, but like
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, no, he went on to fucking, you know, breaking points, right?
What is breaking point? Okay.
It's this,
wasn't that called a rising star or something at some point?
Oh my gosh, dude. It was called Rising. It was called Rising when it was on the hill.
Okay. Fuck.
Rising star kind of just sounds like I like immediately just think like a star is born.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the kind of energy Crystal Ball was coming with. I feel like originally.
Or with a name like Crystal Ball.
Yeah, I mean, she's got this show woman name. This like possibly could have been a. Huh?
Well, and this is very much a woman moment I'm about to talk about, but
let's hear it.
No, okay. So he went on there. Okay, I feel like I recently shit on breaking points, but I don't know if I was just like annoyingly ranting at my friends recently or if it was on the show. But
You brought it up, and I was like not sure exactly what it was, and so we didn't dwell on it long. If that
all right, well,
helps.
everybody fucking hates them about this shit now, and so we're probably late to the punch. That's our fucking that's our
typical.
shit on the show.
Yeah, we don't
let's
offer
get
first
to it.
takes or anything. We offer like we're gonna take a moment, really try to get a good handle on it.
This is like our last project, except we're like 60 years old now, and we're recording it on iPads.
Yeah.
So like they had RFK on breaking. Oh my god! All right, breaking points is these two. They left the Hill, right, and they started their own independent thing, right, with a little bit of that Joe Rogan bump in popularity.
Oh, they got the Joe Rogan bump.
They got the row bump, and like and it's just all it's basically just like Anderson Cooper for people that are in Twitter group chats, right?
Yeah.
So it's still people that are like fucking little swamp monster journos, but like they are culturally fluent enough to understand what does and doesn't fly with people that are like really online and get their news that way, right?
Yeah.
So like they have people like RFK on, and like they'll talk about, you know what I mean?
Who's
right?
the co-host with Crystal Ball? Is it Sager?
Yeah, it's
Or whatever the fuck.
Hammy Sager. No, it's his name's Sauger.
Sauger, okay.
You fucking racist.
All I know is, dude, I've only ever read it. I've never heard anyone say it. So.
No, so like it's the Indian guy, and he's kind of like right wing. He's like kind of ostensibly moderately right wing, but like on the internet. So yeah,
and in the media machine. So I mean, fundamentally, he's
but no, to be fair, right, and that's the thing, right? But oh my gosh, but to be fair, like he is. I was talking to my buddy about this yesterday. He's right wing though, and so because the ceiling for him is just always ultimately going to be lower than it will be for Crystal Ball, because he ultimately won't really be allowed into polite society in the way that she will be.
Right.
He is the only one that's kind of semi-redeemable.
Does he kind of play the heel on the show?
He kind of just plays the cuck. Like it's just kind of always him compromising,
right?
And then just like this absolute left-wing cope of Crystal Ball having these stories of being like, look at this employer cracking down on unions. Isn't the left like really disempowered? And just being like, man, like you are like really looking hard for these stories.
So yeah, you're missing the point.
No, right, because it's the whole delusion of just being like, we're underdogs, right? Like we're not basically just a cultural mask of capital. And anyways, the point is that's their whole thing. It's basically just like aesthetically millennial and tricking young people into just like consuming boomer media.
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt like Rising was when I saw a little bit of that back when it was on.
Yeah, and now Rising is fucking Brianna Joy Gray.
Oh my god.
I know, dude. That fucking what that gum line do? And I'm sorry.
She need a floss.
And then some fucking dork from some fucking dork ass libertarian from like Reason.com. I mean, it's the absolute state of it. But anyways, and I think the people they replaced before them, it's been like a revolving door. Was fucking one of them was Ryan Grim, dog. So like it's a fucking mess.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, they have all you need to know is like breaking points. That's like Ken Clippin.
Oh no!
I know exactly. Like just literally the biggest Fed in the fucking world. Like he doesn't even need to pay for electricity because he just glows in the dark in his house.
Yeah, that dude generates his own.
Yeah, you can read in a dark room around 10. Anyways, point is that was quite the intro for Breaking Points.
Yeah, just in case any of our listeners didn't know what it is, which I assume probably everyone but me does.
What these fucking sickos are all about. I just spit on my microphone. So sometimes I just get so mad about this broad. I just want to spit.
Yeah, these people make me so sick. I just want to spit.
Dude, these just fucking, yeah, these people are sick. So, anyways, realistically, I like feel bad for Sagar, and I think that Crystal Ball is just like a fucking reptilian. So they had old Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on, and I like the old guy. You know, I think he's a good lad.
Good lad.
He's a good lad. And listen, man, they had him on, and interview's going all right. You know, I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. I love his positions on. I think he's really good on Ukraine. I think he's obviously his claim to fame is COVID. But yeah, so she kind of does a cornering little thing of being like, hey, like you're an anti-vaxxer. And specifically, and I want to just say really fast, like he is literally an anti-vaxxer. It's not one of these like, oh, you don't like this insane clot shot thing. It's like literally like he's like fucking, you know.
Oh, he's been on it.
Yeah, he done been on this game.
He's been sniffing up Fauci's tree for a long time.
He really has. Dude, you and me talked about that book.
Yeah.
But, no, so they corner him, and she basically does the basic framing device of being like, this is a deal breaker for tons of people, and like it's a real problem, and yada yada yada. And she like says basically like, this is the problem with your point of view. It's totally legitimate. Yada yada, and he defends himself, and then she gives a little pushback, and then he just, again, because he's like an expert in these things, which I just want to say, by the way, like vaccines like are not my bag, okay? And I'm not saying this to hedge. I'm not saying this to hedge by being like, oh, I don't want to die on that hill with RFK. Like the fact that he is critical of vaccines makes me like him more because it's fucking schizo, and like maybe he is right? Like I'm just saying. I can't argue against or for this shit because this has not been an issue that I've even given a fuck about.
I just don't know enough about that kind of shit to really get a good grasp on it, nor do I want to spend the amount of time I'm going to need to really delve into it, like to get the first-hand data. And so I'm just going based on feel, and intuitively his position feels better. And so like I would die on that hill with him, and I still don't know anything about it, but I think he's right.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And it's going to be something I'm going to need to think about, like, as I have children, you know, how I want to handle that. But anyways, point is, like, so she corners him about it, and he defends himself, and then she basically just does the, like, well, I don't want to get into the weeds with you about it. I don't want to get bogged down, and just cuts him off, right? After she's already done the thing where she's framed the issue.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't let him actually, like, frame it in his way. She's like, no, we're going to stay in my frame and then just move past it.
Right, exactly. And people, like, just absolutely fucking shit all over her. They're fucking spurging out about how horrible it is. And Sagar is, like, visibly uncomfortable. Yeah, I don't know. It was funny. It's funny because I kind of front-loaded me, like, shitting on Crystal Ball. And so I feel like I don't really have, like, a ton to say at this point. But,
well, I mean, I feel like that's probably the meat of it, dude. I mean, when you told me he went on there, that's kind of what I imagined happened right off the bat. I was like, okay, he's going to get into some hot water about vaccines. Crystal Ball is going to control the narrative like she does on every episode of the show, probably. And then, yeah, it's just going to move by it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the thing is, right, is like, dude, like... their whole shtick is that they are like basically dissident media. They're alternative media, right? And like honestly, this is my problem with Joe Rogan too. This is my problem with all of this shit. Is that in itself is a framing device,
right?
And so no, man, like I, I'm gonna say something like a little spicy here, but like I don't think it's spicy, really. There was like a guy on YouTube, Leather Apron Society, who I like his videos. He's pretty legit. He's kind of in like the Keith milieu a little bit. And he had a video where he was just like, dude, like it was like out of all the thousands of guests on Joe Rogan, like half or over half, like an insane number of them are Jewish, right?
Holy fuck!
Like incredible, like simply incredible numbers, right? And like the I know, and like the fact is like shit like that, and just like Joe Rogan basically is just like kind of a normie classical liberal, right? But the fact is that he frames those things as just kind of like in a realist way, right? It's this realism framing, right? Of just like, well, this is obviously the way it is because even me, the dissident, the furthest one can get in this direction, draws the line here, right? And so if you're breaking points and oh my god, like they're mavericks, this is so crazy, and even for them, the COVID stuff, and that's the thing. It's you get what I'm saying, right? And
I think that happens with like you're saying, most dissidents, honestly.
Well, and it's funny because I'm kind of describing like manufacturing consent, which is also a great segue into another topic. Another little lovely member of the tribe that was caught with his hands in the cookie jar. I'm like going a little too far in that direction right now.
Holy shit!
But I'll bring it down.
Hey, one thing I'll say is I've listened to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, and I've never listened to any of those ones you're talking about.
No, but that's the thing, you have without knowing it, right? But like,
I try to get a quick early life check on anyone I'm listening to, bro.
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Jamie, pull up the early life before you can have them start talking.
No, but like, no, it's about framing I always think about it like a bowling alley with bumpers on, right? And you just define what the furthest right and the furthest left position is, right? And that's really how you, out in front of everyone, enact a conspiracy to control the narrative. Is just out in the open using these rhetorical framing devices. And if you're, it's like anchoring. Like Oren had a video recently that I loved. You watch his shit, so maybe you saw it, where he explains the concept of anchoring, right? And how like this is a really great. It's a whatchamacallit, like a bargaining strategy, right? By saying like, oh, COH, to buy me out of the podcast, I require $10 million. And you're like, well, there's no way. And so then when I like inevitably, you inevitably talk me down to the number that I actually intended to get all along of like 1 million, you're like, man, I really won that, right? And, if all breaking points needs to do is just convince you that they're like subversive and like cool, right? And so then again, like it just reinforces.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, and keep in mind, in that way, like this absolute line of bullshit that they threw at RFK Jr., like they like slipped in that like the COVID vaccines were good and effective. And it's like, bro, what are you like really fast? Like that's like, that is in no way. That's if you're saying that about the COVID vaccine in 2023.
Yeah, you've lost it. You're like you're using 2 years ago playbook. Like even in liberal standards.
How can you even make the case? How can you even begin to make the case that you're any kind of dissident voice? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that, dude. It's like that's like people in 2019 being like fucking Liz Warren supporters, right? It's like not only is supporting Bernie not really the adequate position, but like, dude, if you're on Warren team, and like you're just not gonna make it.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, you're just like not existing in a reality that like in any meaningful way.
Exactly, and obviously, like, not only is he just not a fucking liar about the vaccines, but like he's also just astronomically based about them.
Oh yeah.
And so he's just like, nah, this shit's bad. And I think he literally, I don't know if he did it in the interview, but literally talks about how like, no, they have like reverse efficacy, right? Like you and me aren't vaccinated, and like we're literally less likely to get COVID than like all of our vaccinated friends at this point.
The fucking Times put out an article about that like 6 months to a year ago now, dude.
Did they really?
Yeah. Talking about how natural immunity is actually better, not just as effective, but better than having the shot, which is effectively what you're saying.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I knew that, but even just literally going so far as to saying that, like, the vaccine makes you literally
more like, because you can have the vaccine and natural immunity, but like the vaccine in some way like essentially weakens people to the virus is wild to me, and it seems to be pretty much bared out in the numbers.
I mean, yeah, definitely looking around.
Yeah, and so I mean, just from my anecdote, I mean, I never fucking got the shit. I still never got the shit.
I got it once.
I literally like my fiance literally got it. I like slept next to her while she had it, and I never got it. So I mean, maybe I got it without knowing. But
yeah, I imagine like you probably could have just had it, and like it's just like it's just not that big of a deal for most people, dude. It's just nothing. Like I wasn't that sick. I woke up before work, and my roommate had it like 2 days previously and was like pretty sick. Not like super bad or anything, but like
just real sicko.
Yeah, these people are sick. But he was like, I don't know, had some body aches and soreness or whatever. And so I woke up and like my like hips were hurting in a weird way, but I thought maybe it was from being like at work and stuff. And then I just got like run of the mill sore throat and cough. And so I was working at a place that was like, I was working in close quarters with people, and I was like, I'm just gonna call in. And when I called in, they were like, you gotta go get the fucking test. And I had been avoiding, I didn't want to even get the test for it, because just like I don't want to deal with all that. It's just like you have to go fucking wait in a line, you gotta do this, do that, swab your nose. I don't want to give some fucking weirdo my snot, you know what I mean? So I don't know what they're doing with it.
Dude, they're like growing like lab grown COHs.
Dude, if they are, that's fucked.
Dude, that's gonna be the spin-off series of Breaking Points. Is they're just gonna have like
clone COH
clones, but it's gonna be like the versions of us that like just like listen to Pod Save America.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
And they're just like, hello, fellow dissidents. The real mid pandemic is not voting for John Fetterman.
Dude, that fucking loser, dude.
Dude, I don't even want to make fun of that. I don't even want to make fun of that guy because he's just like
stroke victim.
Yeah, he's just retarded.
Yeah,
he's just. I was about to just then make fun of him by calling him retarded. But, yeah, he's just fucked, dude. But
I was Googling RFK just a moment ago, just to see any kind of new stuff about him, and I saw
how every based story starts. Man, so I was Googling RFK.
RFK Jr. And so I clicked on this article. It was one of the top things that came up. Court sides with Elizabeth Warren in dispute over anti-vax book. And so it caught my eye because we were talking about Elizabeth Warren at the same time.
Oh, yeah, what's the deal with this broad? This is this week's What's the Deal with this broad, by the way.
She wrote some letter, flaming letter, or scorching, whatever, flaming too, pretty gay, but scorching letter criticizing his book.
Did she write this on behalf of her tribe?
Yeah, probably so. They were like, we've been getting COVID from all these blankets we keep getting from the sinners, and
oh my fucking god!
It's real.
Like our scathing expose of Anthony Fauci handing out smallpox blankets to beagles and labs.
Oh my god, dude! R.I.P. those beagles, bro. They deserve a better life than Fauci gave them.
Dude, they up there. They up there, though.
But anyways, Elizabeth Warren wrote this letter where she's bitching about the book that he wrote, because we all know that the left, who are the champions of, not banning books, they're going to be very supportive of RFK's book. So she wrote out this one saying that basically they need to ban this book, and trying to, I don't know, do some lawsuit about defamation or some shit.
It's honestly wild to me that people are still defending Anthony Fauci. It's weird.
It's nuts to me. It's really nuts. He's a little fucking twerp, dude. He's a weirdo.
Dude, that's exactly what he is, to be honest.
He is. I hate it. I'm not going to even get on it because I don't need to dwell on that kind of thinking, but...
Dude, I mean, he ain't right. I'll say that much.
The boy ain't right. I'm praying for him.
The boy ain't right. Oh, man, he's past prayers, man.
No one's past prayer. God bless, bro. But
you're right.
Fucking yeah, that dude's a little bit.
Bro.
He's a little twisted up.
He's a dude.
Anthony Fauci, just a little bit of a twisted boy.
Kind of a sick, twisted guy.
Kind of sick, a lot of problems.
A lot of problems with this guy.
Holy
But anyways, yeah, so Elizabeth Warren wrote that letter. She was trying to tell him to take his book down. He sued her for defamation.
Holy shit.
And then he ended up losing. The court sided with Elizabeth Warren. They're like, oh, it's not defamation. So anyways, that was a quick little aside about Elizabeth Warren and RFK that I just thought was relevant because I saw it.
Hell yeah, brother. Fucking... Well, I guess that's not a hell yeah for me. That's
no, it's fucked. But
dude, she's so funny, dude. She's such a like perfectly unlikable figure. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even. No, honestly, straight up, she's an archetype.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing. Is that like Elizabeth Warren is an archetype. Elizabeth Warren is like the archetype of, she's like the bad guy in a bunch of like 80s kids movies.
Dude, yes. Yeah.
She's the principal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fucking stick in the mud, like, it's
she's got either like principal or women's basketball coach energy, like something like that. I'm not sure what it is.
Coach is like is so specific.
Yeah, but that's just what I feel like looking at her though.
I kind of think of like dykish energy for like a women's basketball coach.
She's got a dykish thing kind of going, dude.
No, she's not, dude.
She's got like the jowls, bro, and like this.
She does have the. Well, that's just being old.
Yeah, that's true.
This broad's just up there,
Dude, every time I think about her, I think of that fucking that broad from SNL, dude. That's like anytime I think of Elizabeth Warren, the image that pops in my head is the SNL broad dressed as Elizabeth Warren. Like,
every time I think about Elizabeth Warren, I'm filled with an uncontrollable rage. No. But like, no. What was that? Honestly, like, I'm not even going to try to remember that chick's name because I don't want to remember her name. And I remember it was funny because I sarcastically sent someone a GIF of Elizabeth Warren the other day, and it showed me that GIF of like them dressed like her dressed up as Elizabeth Warren.
God, it's so bad.
That GIF of them dancing together because SNL just has Democrats on to like host their show.
Yeah, like they're fucking like some sort of cultural icon or something.
It's like the gayest form of patronage ever. And yeah, like just dude, honestly, like you talk about art as like just framing it as just like a craft that just workers are engaging in, man, my heart goes out to anybody who got absolutely shafted with the task of needing to like make Elizabeth Warren seem like a relatable human being. Like making her funny and charming is like an impossible artistic feat.
That's what their writers are striking about. They're like, remember we had to do that fucking Elizabeth Warren fucking episode? That took years.
And it all was a failure.
Yeah, and it was awful.
It's like months and months and months of work are just absolutely undone by just that clip of Trump. Trump had those Native American World War II veterans or whatever.
Yeah.
Show up that he put medals on, and he's like, I like you.
Yeah.
I like you. But you know what I don't like? Somebody who's not one of your people, they call her Pocahontas.
Yeah,
and it's just like, this is literally like it's just on a whim randomly. And that just has, and remember when the Pod Save America guys convinced her to do a DNA test?
Yes.
Holy shit, bro.
I don't understand what that was. I don't know how she couldn't have realized all of that was a terrible misstep.
He goaded her into it. Like Trump said, he's like, I'll pay a bunch of, like he said, like I'll do some fucking crazy thing if you take a DNA test, right? And she's like, all right, I did a DNA test, darling, like trying for you to make good. And he was just like, LOL, no. and she had like 0.5% or something. It was it's so hard. But just like having that bad of political instincts should be disqualifying in and of itself.
Of course, dude. Donald Trump, not even a politician, has like 100 times the political instincts as this broad, who's a career, lifelong politician.
And keep in mind, Donald Trump has had, for 4 years straight, horrible political instincts. He got absolutely cucked at every turn. That's like his defining thing of his political career so far. And he makes her. It's like the kids from the Sandlot playing against the fucking New York Yankees. No, if the kids from the Sandlot were mentally retarded. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Elizabeth Warren.
She's one sick puppy, dude.
She's one sick fuck.
Pretty much similar to Noam Chomsky.
Yeah. So Noam Chomsky, quite a lot of ties with our boy Jeffy Epps.
Yeah, I mean, both a member of the tribe, I guess. Too, so.
All right, I'm not playing that game anymore.
There's nothing wrong with it, you know. The's nothing wrong with it. Not my journey.
I really want to emphasize it's not my journey, but I'm a Roman Catholic. Okay,
it's not my journey, but these people, I mean, some of these people, Noam Chomsky and Epstein specifically, are pretty sick. But
yeah, I guess he was like, and keep in mind, this is all after this guy's a fucking registered sex offender, was like helping Chomsky, like basically I think manage his estate after the death of his wife.
Yeah,
like, this guy like.
What the fuck is that, dude? Go to a goddamn wealth management firm or something. You're just calling up some known pedophile doctor and being like, hey, dude, my wife just died. What do I do with this extra $270,000 I have laying around? What the fuck are you talking about?
No, exactly. Like, actually, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, what? Yeah, I read it, and the article is just trying to be like, yeah, he had these ties. It's being vague. It's like he just moved $270,000 around from one account to another. And it's like, yeah, but why do you need Jeffrey fucking Epstein to do that? Like, where does he factor in for that, dude?
I'm going to stop you guys right there really fast. What?
Yeah, let's rewind back to the part where you said Epstein.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Like, in the past, he'd been questioned about it, and like, Chomsky is just like, that's none of your fucking business, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Which in itself is like a really bad answer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, man. It's just funny to me because, like, again, just kind of like the point I was making about Crystal Ball, of just being like, look at this latest bombshell of leftists like being the underdog, like we are everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, Noam Chomsky is kind of like desperately held on to as like the one good one, right?
Which is why he's obviously fucked.
Well, that's what makes this funnier. And also, like, Noam Chomsky got like super whacked out with COVID, dude. Like,
oh my god.
Noam Chomsky was advocating for us to like be locked in our fucking homes and starve to death.
I remember they had him on that Brianna Joy Gray show whenever she had a show that was not rising.
I think she still does that show, Bad Faith.
Bad Faith, yeah.
Remember when she did it with that guy from Chapo, and then like he was like outed as like a pedophile?
Right. All these people are pedophiles, dude. They literally just want to fuck kids, all of them. Brianna Joy Gray probably included in that, dude. But yeah, dude, what was that guy's name? I don't even fucking know. Something gay.
Virgil Texas.
Yeah, Virgil Texas, whatever the fuck porn star name that is, dude.
It's literally a reference. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't fucking know for sure, but it's literally a reference to True Stories by David Byrne, the movie.
I know.
Movie in the 80s that David Byrne directed.
Fire, yeah, John Goodman.
Yeah. That movie's fucking gas, dude. But yeah, no, it's. Yeah,
wait, it's like the town called Virgil or something that they're in? Or?
Yeah, the town is called Virgil.
Oh, okay. Texas. I didn't pick up on that. But
I don't even know if Virgil, Texas is literally like a place or anything. But I always just, well, anyways, I mean, Virgil, Dante's Inferno. I don't know. Anyways.
Okay. Well, Virgil's probably going down to that Inferno. It's not for me to say, but I mean, anyways.
You know, this story's going to have this story is a divine comedy because it's going to have a good ending of him going to hell. Am I right?
Jeez.
Anyways.
Yeah, Noam Chomsky, kind of a sick guy. Par for the course.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like I mean, I just get a kick out of this now because like, here, hold on real fast. I like hear weird shit. You want to pause it real fast?
Yeah.
Give me half a second.
We're taking a quick break. Slav's hearing schizo noises.
Hick neighbors just like doing some yard work.
All right, we're back at it. I was telling our listeners that it was probably just schizophrenic.
Yeah, I'm just having an episode.
Auditory hallucinations, but
yeah, the CIA is hitting me with the fucking auditory hallucination gun. No, so yeah, I mean, I don't know, fucking.
He was just.
It's just who's even left as far as public intellectuals go, right? Because the whole idea, right, is like if you're like the anti-woke leftists, right? You go like, oh, well, we're one of the good ones, and so obviously like we need to just absolutely cling on to like the 3 public intellectuals that are still around that aren't just absolutely hopped up on like identitarianism.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the only fucking examples you had was, like, Zizek and Chomsky. And Zizek totally has completely cucked out and then has just been absolutely debasing himself with the Ukraine stuff. So, like, Zizek's over, which is funny because that was, like, the namesake of my fucking pseudonym online, Slav.
And I think he held on to, like, a cultural prevalence in a more like real way than Chomsky did for a significant period of time. For people who were like more like, I'm actually a dissident, like I think that Chomsky for a long time was very suspicious just based on his status in society.
Well, the thing is that Chomsky is fundamentally starting from liberal premises,
of course.
Right? I mean, like even in like the most like generous reading of Chomsky, he's an anarchist, and like that. And I mean, and you don't have to go in this direction, but I am obviously of the mind that like anarchism is basically just liberalism with like a coat of bourgeois radicalism on it.
It is.
But even if you don't agree with that, which like I can understand, that might be more of a point of opinion. He literally will say and has said like, no, he comes from a liberal intellectual tradition. You know, so he's never lied about this. But yeah, I mean, you know, Zizek is and has been, you know, an illiberal thinker. Right. And so, you know, he's so there's that, right? And so in that way, obviously, like he has a lot more cachet with more like, I guess I want to say, I don't really want to say it, but I ostensibly like fringe dissident thought.
Right. 100%.
Now, not really the case anymore. But you get what I'm saying. So just the fact that like
now fringe dissonant thoughts kind of leaning more towards what Dugan as a public intellectual.
Well, that's
not American, but as far as like in a global scale.
I mean, that's where. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else. That's where I'm at. You know, I mean, like, well, the point I was going to make, right? The point I was going to make, it was just like Chomsky was like a really important domino to not fall yet, because it is just like the last remaining person who's willing to like actually have real politics that aren't just identitarian. And I thought that COVID had basically just killed his reputation. I mean, I think it had. This probably shouldn't really change that much for people, but I guess it does. And so at this point, it is just one of those things like you can't really continue to play this game where you're acting like the defining thought leaders of the left are basically just like bell hooks now. You know what I mean? And so like we need to basically just be real about that. And yeah, I mean, personally, like I personally think like that, like political syncretism, you know, like kind of a synthesis of both the thought and practice of the fringe right and the fringe left is the only way to get out of just this kind of dialectic stalemate at the end of history, right? and in that way, like I think Dugan is the only fucking person saying anything. I mean, I'm assuming you watched. Dude, I've been staying up. I haven't watched. I think maybe the last one, but I've been staying up on Oren's series with Michael Millerman, studying Dugan. It's such fucking fire, dude. It's so good. It's so good, dude. And I'll be honest about it, dude. Like I've read a decent amount of short form stuff that Dugan's written, but I haven't actually read full length books by him. Not least for a lot of reasons, not the least of which just being they're fucking hard to find. They're literally just hard to find. Rest. But everything that I learn about him, Keith has a great video essay about Dugan. All of this stuff, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the video medium goes, Oren's series with Millerman is the best thing that exists to learn about Dugan.
I'll check that out. I actually haven't watched any of those.
It's my favorite thing that Oren's ever done. And and we both really are fond of Oren's work.
I'll look into that for sure. I've been meaning to look into Dugan, but it's like you said, his work is more difficult to find than going and getting a Chomsky book. I found a fucking Chomsky CD at a local music store the other day when I was in there poking around the dollar bin, and I'm like, what the fuck?
People practically are begging you to discover Chomsky,
right?
Again, it's just this last it's this last leg to stand on of being we have some dissident legitimacy, and it's you again Chomsky wanted you and me put in fucking concentration camps.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
It's over. It's been over, and that's also where I don't know that I have a ton of sympathy. I don't know that I have a ton of feelings outside of just laughing and taking joy in the fact that this latest bit of news about him came out.
Oh no, I mean it's just par for the course. You're okay, word, finally, hopefully that's the last nail on his fucking dusty ass coffin, bro. We need to get his shit out of here. He was always a cuck. He was always the gay soy version of Michael Parenti, always. And I never think that that's any way different.
Literally, Parenti literally shits on Chomsky in interviews, and it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine to get into all of this through Noam Chomsky, but you graduate to Parenti, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Parenti just absolutely reamed him, and it's hilarious. And then honestly, the super famous debate between Foucault and Chomsky is in retrospect fucking embarrassing for Chomsky. He just absolutely cucked by Foucault, which honestly, there's probably been a number of people through history that have been literally cucked by Foucault.
Yeah, he's a slimy bastard too.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean. Dude, Foucault's a real sicko, but the guy's the guy's brilliant, and obviously really, dude. Honestly, it's like this with a lot of philosophers and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
public intellectuals are a sick breed and have been for a long time, dude.
Absolutely, and to be honest, I'll be totally clear here. I literally hold Foucault to a different standard because he's maybe the only person I can think of where I'm no, this man literally is a pedophile.
Yeah,
and ultimately that's not a deal breaker for me. Just hearing out the shit he's saying,
dude. All those people are French and fucking kids, bro.
Well, in Foucault especially,
yeah.
But he's still. It's just he's maybe this is a bad word to use in the context, but Foucault is seminal, dude. He's an incredibly important.
He's
honestly,
fluids.
Honestly, just how the way that right wingers talk about Marx, I think that they should. I like Marx. We both.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not assuming. I know. Both of us are down with that shit, right? But I really would urge right wingers to adopt a similar position that I have towards Foucault to Marx, of just being it doesn't me having this really moralizing qualitative judgments of this person, are really just kind of actually being a hindrance because this person's so profoundly important and was on to things so much that it's just you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never actually
and
read any Foucault, anything that he's written. but I've read a bunch of like secondary
I mean,
commentary
Discipline
on
and
him.
Punish is fucking fire.
I think I actually have that. I just haven't read it. Okay, so I went and got a bunch of philosophy books like that a long time ago, and then I was going through and like trying to figure out which ones am I going to read in what order. And then I remember seeing the thing about all the French intellectuals fucking kids, and I was like, all right, we're shelving that for a while.
That's gonna be a dark place right there. Yeah, those people are fucking sick, dude. We like, yeah. The only people worse than the Anglos is the fucking French.
Yeah, French people, they've always made me a little uneasy. But I don't even really have a good reason for it. They just they got a metrosexual energy to them at all times. And that's something I don't really always vibe with. So.
Yeah, I don't know. They just ain't right.
He like really wore a lot of leather jackets, I feel like, which is like, I don't know. He looks slimy.
He does look fucking. Well, yeah. I mean, the French are like have also for a long time really been into the whole like public intellectual as like a cool guy thing.
Oh yeah, dude.
And like I think that's kind of a little bit embarrassing. Like I kind of like. I mean, it's like cool in a way. Like I get it. I kind of get it in a way. I don't think it's horrible.
I mean, you have a couple of them or whatever. They should have a right place in society, but like you don't need to elevate them into like this cool thing.
Yeah, it's like their whole thing. Like Foucault and like Lacan are just like,
oh yeah.
What if I was smart, but I also like smoked
cigarettes?
Yeah, and it's like honestly, the thing I like about Dugin is that Dugin is just like a fucking weird dude. Dugin has just like some weird, like kind of ethnically ambiguous Asian wife, and is just really into like Eastern Orthodoxy, I think, and magic.
He kind of looks like fucking Rasputin a little bit.
He does look like fucking Rasputin, dude. Have you seen that? He's got that picture of him just like holding a fucking rocket launcher.
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and so like I don't know. Anyways, Dugin's based, and the way forward in the dialectic is through a synthesis.
I mean, I think that's what it's always been, right? I mean, I think that's what a dialectical process, or like any type of dialectical theory, is about.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Obviously, that is the whole thing, but a synthesis of right and left.
Right.
A synthesis of it's basically and I think you said it before. It's like we're like almost like bizarro universe centrists, basically, right? Like it's like no, it's literally a Dugin quote of being like I think it's like with left, with right, against center. Or something like that, right? And that's kind of the and identifying that classical liberalism is the center. Which honestly, I've kind of been coming around to. I'm like starting to. I didn't want to do this for a while, but I feel like I'm rambling a little bit here, so apologies. But I feel like I was trying to not do this for a while, but I'm coming back around to just being like, I'm kind of just digging using the term classical liberalism to define what I'm trying to talk about because I think people are a little bit more used to hearing that and understanding that that's something that doesn't necessarily preclude the right wing, but it kind of is the entire political compass.
Yeah, it's a framework outside of like just saying the libs, basically. Like if you say liberal, most people are going to just like within American politics are going to think the libs or Dems.
Exactly, which like isn't what we mean. Like we're talking about liberalism, right?
Jordan
and anybody
Peterson's
that isn't.
Included.
Even honestly, Jordan Peterson more than libs,
right?
Because that's his fucking thing, right? And so like, and honestly, like the same way that the libs and the left like are even higher priorities as far as like people that need to be critiqued because they're wolf in sheep's clothing. It's the same thing with Jordan Peterson, right? Like and don't get me wrong, right? Like I'm a man in my fucking 20s. Like certain Jordan Peterson videos are like fucking catnip to me. It's like Instagram for women, right? I'm just like, yes, like I get it, right? Like
he just sounds a little too funny for me to take seriously like that. Like he's
well,
not.
You're a freak of nature who just doesn't fall into half the psyops that affect everyone else, and you have that strength going for you. But like, I get the appeal of Peterson.
Oh, of course.
But again, ultimately, it's just like the problem is liberalism, and that is fundamentally all that he is peddling.
Mhm.
And honestly, he's even worse now because now he's just like he's trying to become like the spokesperson of Christianity.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he's secular.
It's fucking
And it's
weird, dude.
Yeah, it's like, dude, fuck off, man. Like, you can't just have your cake and you can't have your cake and eat it too, or eat your cake.
It makes
and
me
have
think
it
about
too.
Sam Harris a little bit, dude.
Well, it's like Sam Harris. It's like how it's Sam Harris's relationship with meditation.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Where it's like, dude, like this is you're delusional.
Mhm.
You know,
You're presenting like the framework of this without the heart of it, and like how are you supposed to understand it? It's like AI art. It's like, yeah, you're giving me like the fucking scaffolding here, but you're not giving me the beautiful architecture that actually is underneath it.
I also just like he literally talks the way that I like talk when I'm trying to like argue against my girlfriend when I know I'm wrong. Where he just talks and just like, I'm calm and masculine and I'm being very analytical, and because I'm calm, I'm right and you're wrong.
That's why I don't like him, dude. It's too fucking rote, bro. It's like, be a real person. You know what I mean?
It sounds like a fucking robot.
Yeah, I don't vibe with it. I know I've talked to you about Theo Von a handful of times, but I've
actually been getting a little bit more into him. I dig his shit.
Yeah.
I dig his shit. And I'm kind of stoked to see him getting more mainstream people too.
He's getting a lot of mainstream people. He's blown up recently.
He's doing really good.
Yeah,
and he seems like a decent guy.
He just seems like an earnest guy that's like twisted up and he's trying to figure it out in real time. That's all that it is. Like you're watching him, you're like, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, God bless you, but like you're actually working on it and trying to figure it out.
So. Yeah, it's like when retards know they're retarded.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, look, man, like I want to transcend my position.
You know? Yeah, that's what his appeal is. I think is because most people that listen to him are like probably in the same boat. Everyone's twisted up one way or another with modernity. Like no one comes out unscathed, and so like everyone's just kind of like.
Twist it up like our boy Noam Chomsky.
No. Not everyone gets that kind of. That's a twisted beyond untwisting. That's like a Fauci type twisted that you're not gonna be able to fix well. I mean, you can pray all you want, but that's in God's hands. That kind of thing. But
absolutely, and somebody's got to be destined for the pit. You know.
Yeah. I mean, they can't all be winners. You know.
I'm just kidding. Nobody's destined for the pit. I'm not a fucking.
I think fundamentally we're all destined for heaven and greatness and harmony, but like some of us take a lot longer to get there.
Let's go, dude. We simply cannot abide Calvinism on this podcast. Let's go. Yeah. God wants to save everybody.
Yes.
The new covenant is universal. There's not an elect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not Mormons or nothing, dude. That's fucking ridiculous.
No, dude, we're not fucking Baptists.
I know, but I'm saying, like, people don't even think about that when you think about Baptists and stuff. And, like, what you think of most fundamentally is, like, Mormons say they can only be 100-something thousand people in heaven or whatever.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like it's not buying a PS5, bro. Like, you don't need to get in line.
The heaven merch drop.
Like, dude, it's people just seeing, like, the problem of evil, the problem of the existence of evil, right? And just being like, let's like one up it. God is just going to be insane and just not even let the overwhelming majority of anyone into heaven.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? What is this?
Yeah.
What game are we playing here?
But yeah, fucking, what was this? Oh, Theo Von. I think he's just twisted to a certain point and he's just trying to like, that's what his appeal is that he's just earnest and like, he just says whatever he's feeling off top. And so like, he just kind of encounters all that stuff in real time and on air, and people are like, oh, wow, this is a refreshingly unique take of someone who's actually just trying to figure out how to be a regular person in this completely fucked up environment that we're in. Totally. And he's funny as hell, too, and has these crazy things. But anyways, he had Jordan Peterson
that boy might be twisted, but he's funny as hell.
He's funny as hell, bro. And he's from the South, and so that I get a lot of, like, he reminds me of folks I grew up with and know and stuff, so.
He's got a pretty funny accent, too.
Yeah, he's got that Creole shit kind of going in with it, too.
It's pretty funny.
It's weird. But he had Jordan Peterson on before. And that was an interesting episode because it's like Theo's just twisted up and trying to figure it out, and Jordan Peterson's just hitting him with this very like well, you're gonna want to take your time, and if you set these things and build these habits, and I don't know, he just like
I'm gay and I'm a fucking dork.
he's just not able to like interact with it in an organic way, and like he's just like, I have my recommendations, but I don't have like a way to actually contextualize them within your experience when you were on an individual basis, if that makes any sense.
No, he's like a little suit, dude.
Yeah.
He's like it's like Kantbot going into a fucking AA meeting, and it's just like, all right, like this isn't really where you should be.
Yeah.
Like this isn't your path.
Yeah, it's not your journey, bro.
This is not your fucking journey. Yeah, no, dude. I don't fuck with Jordan Peterson. Well, honestly, you know what? I want to be a little easy.
He's got meaningful advice if you need to hear it. Like some people need that kind of structure and that kind of like not hard nosed, but like disciplined kind of idea.
It's kind of hard nosed.
Yeah.
And it's just all about like, it's about just like grimacing and just like ugly crying and just being like, life is serious. It's bloody serious. And like, but like, listen, right? Honestly, exactly what I was just saying about Chomsky is, I think, the take for Peterson, right? Which is just like, dude, read Hegemony or Survival, read Manufacturing Consent. Honestly, read Hegemony or Survival, and you could probably skip Manufacturing Consent.
Yeah, read Manufacturing Reality instead, or Creating Reality.
Creating Reality by Parentes is honestly better. Like, just like have your phase of Chomsky, in my opinion. I think it's all just about like, there's phases of shit, right? Like check out Chomsky, just like understand, like just evolve past him, right? And like, and it's the same thing with, I think, the other person I mentioned. I forget who the other person I mentioned was, but like it's the exact same thing for Peterson, right? Like check the stuff out, right, dude? Especially like people are just generally not okay right now,
right?
And so if you're the kind of guy like that's like, you know, just really struggling to get their fucking shit together, like I get it, dude. I get it, and like, and that stuff can be helpful, you know. And I think that a lot of people are starved for like strong paternal figures in their life and shit like that. And like, having said that, I think that it's fucking creepy and morbid to have like YouTube influencers become like
your dad.
Father, yeah, no, like just like understand the like capitalist psyop fucking nightmare reality that you're living in. But like listen, dude, like there's no atheists in foxholes type shit, right? So like I'm not gonna blame anybody, and I get it, you know, but like
he's better than what a lot of this other bullshit people are peddling out there, telling you to chop your dick off and really like do all that. So I mean, on that respect, it's better, but like it misses the forest for the trees in a meaningful way. And yeah, he's like a personal trainer for cleaning your room. Like if you need it, it's cool, but like that's not all, you know what I mean?
Dude, it's all about just like there's like rungs, you know what I mean? Like life is like an RPG where you're like leveling up, right? And like I think what happens is that people get stuck on a certain rung, right? And like, you know, don't get stuck on fucking, like, to me, anarchism is like a very early political development rung.
Definitely. You're like, man, fuck all these constructs that are on me, dude, and things that are constricting my thought.
Exactly. And I think like a rung or two above that
is Jordan Peterson. You're coming back. You're like, okay, I need some things, some structure.
Not even that. I'm making a parallel like progression. Like I think like a rung or two above that is like being like an ML. Like Marxist Leninism is just more thought out and coherent than anarchism. And like, and that's the other thing. Chomsky isn't even like a particularly deep version of anarchism. He's like an anarcho-syndicalist, right? Like it's basically just like you're a lib who supports unions.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a social democrat, okay? You know, you go to your Marxist Leninism, yada yada yada, and now obviously it's like I think third positionism is basically where people should kind of ultimately wind up, right?
I think that's where you start out from, and then you start reaching to these other ideas that are like trying to, like, because those are what are presented in modern scope of politics. There's no real vision of a third positionism. And so when you're trying to think outside the box in that way, you're like, well, what is kind of the third position? And you're like, maybe ML, maybe libertarianism, fucking whatever the hell.
And to be honest, like ML and like even Stalinism,
closer
like,
to third positionism than the rest.
I was just gonna say, especially like relative to just like the political window, the political spectrum these days, like it is very much, dude. Honestly, like I try to come up with examples to bring this up to some of my normie friends that are kind of toying with leftism when they like say whack shit about just, I'm like set off by just the term sex worker. I really don't like that. I really don't like that. And just explain it, like, bro, like
call them loose women and floozies.
Well, like, dude, just like the political spectrum these days relative to that, like the concept of the Lumpenproll and just an actual orthodox Marxist approach to prostitutes and criminals and vagrants is very reactionary. It's super based.
It's correct.
Well, it is literally correct. I mean, it's Marxism is a fucking science. Okay, so it's like you can just like say that like the framework isn't for you, but it's internally consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yes, like definitionally, career criminals are counter-revolutionary forces that are going to ultimately, push comes to shove, side with the ownership class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's also why like it's fun to romanticize these groups and everything, but like American leftism has a fairly long history, at least since the 60s. Now a long history of like really being pretty wrong-headed about like a practical application of this stuff. And I specifically think about like the Black Panther Party and like their entire strategy was just banking on the Lumpenproll having revolutionary potential.
Right.
And they fucking don't.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's done, and it's like, whatever, right? Like you guys can try things and fail, right? It's okay to be wrong, right? But it's poisoned the well.
Yeah.
And that's the only way in which people even conceive of a revolutionary subject in American society anymore. And it's actually retarded. And the actual revolutionary subject is basically just considered a chud.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where like I think that's where kind of this bio-Leninism kind of thing kind of comes into places from those kind of rootings, where you're like, oh, well, that's actually the revolutionary subject, just like these people who are completely fucked by it. And you're like, no, those are the people who are like who are going to be liberated by a workers' revolution, fundamentally, from the things that bind them into the lives that they live. And they're like a part of what the revolution's for, but they're not the revolutionary subject, and they're not the people who are going to be leading it or should be in any understanding.
No, it's exactly like after the revolution, like those people, it almost feels quaint talking in these terms again. Like those people either stop doing what they're doing because they're the forces that are pushing them into doing that are gone, and they don't need to be doing that shit anymore, or they continue to do that shit, and they're leeches on actual value created by the productive classes, and they're literally socially degenerate, and so those people are basically imprisoned because they're criminals. I remember Leela coming on.
It'd be like, put the sex workers in gulags. That's honestly what we gotta do.
right, and us just being like, whoa.
I was like,
but again, like that's the honest fucking reading, and like I'm tired of Marxism is an actual tangible static thing. Mm-hmm. It's not just a fucking fashion statement, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's why I like it as like a mode of critique, as like a framework for analysis. Generally, I think that some of the presuppositions for like the ideological base that Marxism is built upon, like the materialism, is a little bit. I think I have some problems with some of that, but
I'm not fond of materialism. I'm not fond of his views on religion that spring from that shit like that, right?
Right, but I think that there are ways to marry that with like a more dialectical vision, because I think fundamentally that's what like Marxism is about, is dialectical materialism. And I think
Yep.
that dialectical materialism implies inherently that it's not straight to vulgar materialism. And so because of that, there's the room to, work in and assimilate new understandings about the nature of reality that don't fit into a strict materialist lens. And I don't think that it necessarily makes any of the actual analysis, any of the framework for analysis of Marxism within a power and wealth and economic and political sense. I don't think that it says anything or about that at all. I don't think it makes that wrong. I think it's still effective.
100%. I think my old answer that I used to go to, and I think it's still pretty good, is basically just like, I'm like ultimately not a materialist, but I think that like when it comes to political economy and like industrial relations, like a material analysis is one that's really quantifiable, is obviously the tool of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and like these aren't tools to apply to understanding the nature of reality and of man,
Right.
but like of understanding the technology that is forming the world we're in. Okay, like the capitalist mode of production is a technology created by man. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not created by God. I mean, I guess it is by a couple or degrees of difference. Okay, sure, but like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's something that could be understood in a materialist frame, and that doesn't maybe explain all of the forces that go into the creation of this mode of existence that we're in, but it explains like us being within it and how to navigate within it and how to view it as a whole and how to get out of it. I mean, 100%. I don't know about how to get out of it, if that's actually, I don't know. I mean, I like to think
you just gotta make your room, bucko.
Right.
If you make your room, you'll get out of this deep alienation and you won't be a cockroach anymore. and that's my point, right? Is just like, don't stay on any rung too long. Like, understand, like, it's just this process of just being wrong,
mm-hmm.
but just being a little less wrong every time.
Right, growth and assimilation.
Exactly. And so, like, if you're somebody, dude, if you're me like 6 years ago and you're just like completely out of control with drinking or something like that, and you're just struggling to be a fucking functional human being, mm-hmm. which, I'll be honest, it's a lot of men. Then, like, dude, check out the stuff he has to say. Totally, like, I remember a few years ago, and it wasn't like me being totally hook, line, and sinker into it, but just out of curiosity, I read 12 Rules for Life and his like book, mm-hmm. right? His like big book. And like, listen, man, like, it's a solid self-help book.
Definitely.
With a bunch of really weird anti-communist ideology
squeezed in there, yeah.
And it's just like, man, like, you can read it. I would just say, like, just be careful with the political aspect mm-hmm. of it. Don't become a fucking liberal, and just grow past it, dude. Right. Just grow past it, man. Like, honestly, the best thing to do even is just like check out a couple of his videos, get a taste for it, and then just like just check out Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung. Okay, you don't need the like new, updated, modernized aesthetic version of those things.
Yeah, Carl Jung's pretty based.
But Carl Jung is super
the collective
based.
Unconscious is pretty based. It was like, that was one thing that I think early on got me into. It was an easy way to, like, from a secular standpoint, understand a broader understanding of life, and I think that very well, it's a stepping stone towards like a broader grasp of like spirituality in general.
Oh yeah, well, Carl Jung's cool too, because it's just like he does acknowledge like the spiritual a lot more, but I mean, I'm far from an expert on this stuff. I want to say, but yeah, man, I mean, it's just all about kind of evolving with it, and I do see, especially now, like, dude, Peterson's at like the Daily Wire now, and like,
oh, is he writing?
No, he's like making videos,
okay.
right? He's like doing the Matt Walsh thing now, right? Which like is funny because like in a way,
They're very similar. They have similar physiognomy almost, I feel like, too. They kind of do.
Did right-wing lib physiognomy. No, like, it's funny because, like, there's right-wingers I know who I've talked to that, like, will, and they're both equally right, where they'll go, like, dude, like, he's at the Daily Wire, it's over for him, right? Mm. And then there's people that'll be like, he's at the Daily Wire now, he's huge now.
He's said.
And, like, and both are completely correct, right? It's just, like, he's not, it's very clear. It makes very clear what I'm fucking talking about, which is just he's a fucking normie, okay? Mm-hmm. Like we're living in really extreme times. I think that the answers lie in the fringe elements of political thought, and you're just not gonna get that from a guy at the fucking Daily Wire, okay? Like Matt Walsh videos can be dumb fun the way that like dog shit reality show TV can be, right? But like don't build the habit of watching that shit. Don't let that stuff seep into your soul. Like my fiance and I were talking the other day, and she's talking about just like, man, like moral atrophy is like a really big thing that's really easy to have happen that people don't think about very much. And I think that this is kind of a form of that too, of just like you're gonna steep yourself in this ideology, and you're gonna become a fucking lib. And you're gonna become part of the fucking system that's continuing this absolute, shit show.
Yeah, no, definitely. So stay away from Jordan Peterson, kids. Stay away from or actually, no, engage with it, but then just move past it and translate it into your life, and then transform into the next step.
And I think a big part of that is just don't buy into this. To touch on Marx a little bit more, right? Like this commodity fetishism that has now evolved into, the highest commodity, like the most modern cutting edge commodity, which is just basically personality.
Right.
This fetishism of just being like, this guy's my dad. Mm-hmm. This guy's like my dad, and he's so cool, and I have a parasocial relationship, and all like. No, okay? Like, he's a finite being. He has, like, some really serious, glaring flaws.
He's hopped up on benzos.
I mean, ultimately, like, this guy is just, like, the enemy, okay? Yeah. It's as simple as that, okay? But just understand, like, like, there's lessons to be learned. Mm-hmm. There's lessons to be learned. You can get something out of it. That's totally fine, okay? Like, I'm not like one of these cringe leftists like Chapos or Hassan 16-year-old girls that like need to be obsessed with this guy for some reason. Yeah. Like, no, he's fucking cringe. Just move on. Mm-hmm. Get what you need out of it. If you're a guy who's like still talking about fucking it's evil to have children and I'm gonna fucking fill my life with Funko Pops, then like check out his stuff, I guess. And
snap out of that for a second.
Yeah, like at least like get your 2 feet on the ground, sure. Yeah.
It's like a glass of ice water splashed on your face or something.
Exactly. I guess it's one of these just like you don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, like this guy's a cuck, right? But at the same time, like he's saying enough real shit in a sea of unreal shit that it's like, all right, like he's not enemy number 1, but he's not far from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if it's right, it don't matter who's saying it, but like use your critical thinking skills when it comes to what else you listen to from that person.
And it's the same thing with Marxists, mm-hmm. right? Like to be honest, I don't know. I mean, we talk about Parenti. Parenti hasn't been fucking seen in public in like 10 fucking
years. He's like 90 years old too.
Okay, yeah, there's that. Okay, he's earned it, right? But like, I don't know of any public intellectual Marxists that are like actually legit anymore, right? Right? I don't know of any public leftist intellectuals that are worthwhile at all, right? And so if you're actually interested in this line of thought, which you should be, right, you're going to need to get into the habit of listening to people that are absolute fucking retards say things that are true.
It's so true, dude. And you can't get
And
yourself
even
spread too thin with following the rest of what they're saying. You gotta just figure out what sounds good and true and stick with that and like drop the rest of the shit to the wayside.
which honestly they're all doing with it anyways.
Mhm.
So yeah, dude, 100%, 100%. And because also the answer for everyone isn't to just like read Das Kapital, because people just aren't gonna fucking do that.
Right, I
okay?
mean, you're gonna get stuck in that if you try to read it just out of nowhere.
Exactly. Honestly, it's like that for the Bible too.
Yeah.
It's like that for a lot of these things where it's just like, okay, well, like if that's like step one, then like people just aren't going to come to your side. You need to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, dude, I've been really digging. Well, I don't want to get too bogged. And just a quick thing, we can talk about it maybe next week more so. But I've been getting really into just like praying the rosary like a lot more often.
Mm-hmm.
And like the rosary, like doing like each of the meditations, like
Mhm.
each day of the week, like really is a great way of like getting through the story of the Bible. It's like it's awesome, man. It's really effective and like really quick and easy.
Yeah, I've been reading back through the Bible. Just started on page 1. He's got King James version.
That's also a horrible way of doing it. But like
I just wanted to get like I was like I want to try to get something that's like I just want to get to the source and I just want to run through it. And I mean, I was exposed to all of it when I was younger, so I'm familiar with like pretty much every passage and all the parables, and so it's just like giving me a more thorough understanding of it. And like now that I'm older and able to understand a little bit more of the symbolism in it and some of the writing and like taking the actual story of it rather than just like viewing it as disconnected parables, I think has been helpful for me as well. And then I've also been watching this TV show a while ago. Started it, and my parents told me about. It's called The Chosen, and I think it's a Protestant-made show.
It is Protestant. You know, that's funny you said that because I've been seeing because obviously the internet knows who I am now. Basically, it's just like the algorithm's like, all right.
Uh-huh.
So I'm getting that advertised to me, and I started by just being like, whatever, this fucking hokey ass Protestant bullshit, right? But now I'm like, I don't know, like this, like
It's based. Is it
a decent show?
It's good production value.
It's like prestige television.
Yeah, it's not libbed up. They have it on Amazon. They have it on its own app called Angel.
Dude, Christians and their like independent apps are really funny.
Yeah, and on that app they also have like Christian comedy and stand up and stuff like that as well. Bunch of different shit like that, children's shows, stuff like that. But anyways, they have The Chosen. I think that I don't know. I'm sure someone that's a more hardline right winger or something might watch it and be like, some of it's libbed up or whatever. But I think
this is so paused up.
But it'd be like fundamentally,
which I guess for the record, I guess the lead actor is Catholic, so that's
okay. Well, I was gonna say, I mean, just reading through the Bible, a lot of people that have a hard right wing stance are gonna be like, this is libbed up just based on the things that Jesus is saying in the first place. So
just reading the Beatitudes.
No, literally.
What is this Soros shit bullshit?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about the Beatitudes when I was saying that. But yeah, they'd be like that. I think it does a really good job of viscerally presenting the stories in the Bible. It's going very slow. It started just with him just getting his disciples together. It doesn't start like with his birth and stuff like that. It starts with like basically just he's kind of getting his disciples together, and then he does like season
like it skips birth and it skips hidden life.
Yeah,
and it just goes to him being like 30.
Yeah, like there's a couple things going on in like the first season. It's just like you're getting like the disciples and Mary Magdalene and stuff like that, and then like one of the fourth episode or something, Jesus comes into it.
That's actually kind of
so sick. It's not like completely centered. It's like giving you I think it's a really good show. I really enjoy it beyond my own personal leanings. Like I think that it's like it has good production value. It grabs you. It does a really good job of humanizing a lot of the stories in the Bible that can seem distant, or if you read it in language that's Old English or whatever, or Latin or anything, you're just like, it doesn't feel as connected sometimes. I think it does a good job of that and introducing it in the more modern way. And it's not like, it has a good uplifting message, and it's not just like the Passion of the Christ or something, which I think is helpful. And
Yeah. I mean, it's I think the Passion is good if you kind of already have the
right,
context for it. But other than that, I remember when I first saw the movie, I was just like, this is just like gore porn.
yeah, you're like, this is
Like,
horrible.
yeah, like what the fuck even is this? And like, to be honest, and maybe like Christians need to maybe appreciate this a little bit more. Like, the symbolism of like Christ's sacrifice for all of us is not immediately apparent. Like
Mhm.
like the beauty and the symbolic redemption in that and all of that is is not instantly communicated to everyone clearly just by seeing him get tortured to death.
No, of course not. I mean, a lot of
It
times it
doesn't
translates more.
make any sense.
It translates a lot more as a guilt trip for people than anything else, which I don't think is necessarily like the intention behind it.
No, which and to be fair, I literally it literally helps me to guilt trip myself by just like when I'm gonna do something bad, just being like thinking of Jesus on the cross and being like, he like did that for me.
Right.
But like that's not where you that's not page one that you start people
Yeah,
on,
no.
dude. Like,
And you don't see
not...
any of the beauty of like his life or the works of Christ or what makes his life an example or anything like that through like just seeing the crucifixion. I mean, the crucifixion is a central part of all of it, right? Fundamentally, but in this symbolism in it is very strong and with like the cross and everything. But like just seeing that taken out of context, if you're not someone who already has the context, not someone who's already on board, you're gonna be like, why are you just showing me this?
Yeah, no, what the fuck even is this? And that's the thing. Like, without the context of basically just being like, this person is in themselves a utopian ideal,
Mm-hmm.
right? This person is the perfect person that we're supposed to just be like,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just absolutely brutally all of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that, and a lot of people don't even understand that baseline,
Right.
So,
And then you don't get any of like the redeeming message of the resurrection. Like it's tied into it.
honestly, another funny thing. This is just like a little bit more of an aside, but one funny thing that really gets me is like, and I think that this just generally is not emphasized. I think the Eastern Church emphasizes this a little bit more, but just like, dude, the fact that like Jesus went to hell and just like cracked skulls just fighting through that shit after he died is like an insanely metal part of the story that no one seems to be aware of.
Yeah.
And like, I guess it. To be honest, I actually really don't know why it's not emphasized very much. I guess it could just be the same old basic thing of just like, it's just the Santa Clausification of everything, of just like we're kind of alienated from the important parts of the story generally. But like,
I think that I mean, I'm not sure how to say this in a productive way, but I think that Western Christianity and a lot of Romans getting a hold of it, and then how it kind of went after that, it was put into a more legalistic, rational framework that kind of chopped the legs off of it a little bit. And I think that stuff like that is part of what goes with it.
Sure.
And so it becomes a lot more like, I don't know, just a lot more based in rational thinking and legalism, and like something that can be a little bit more materialized rather than something that's going to be a more mystical experience, and like him going to hell and like fighting through that and getting dominion over hell and earth, and then transcending that into heaven and showing kind of like a path of redemption for every individual person in that way is a little bit more of a just kind of mystical out there thing than like just saying like, look, this dude is an example for us. He's the divine being. He came here to save us. He took on all of our sins. Because of that, they killed him for it. It made us free of his sins, etc. Right. And I think that that's like more of a Western view, at least in the Protestant sense for sure of it, which I think is not necessarily maybe congruent with the Eastern view, or kind of how it was previous to Western understandings.
Oh, 100%. And that's where you also get like, just, I don't know if I talked about this recently, but I like went to like a really, really, I wasn't there for like a service. I just was, by circumstance, was inside of a, like, I didn't, you'll have to tell me if I already talked about this, but I was inside of a hyper progressive church recently.
Oh my
Did I
god,
tell you
no!
about
But
this?
I've been in those when I was in my youth, and they got like a coffee
Bro.
shop in there, and they sell you $4 coffee, and like it's
Okay, so
Starbucks or something.
I've never even heard of something like that. That sounds psychotic.
That happens
I
everywhere in the South, bro. That's like some Protestant shit, dude.
Well, dude, there's that, man. Dude, I gotta say, man, like they, I, I knew that there was a lot of like, I think my fiance, how did she put it? It was just the like getting to Jesus by any means necessary kind of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Which like by the end point, you're not even getting to Jesus anymore. It's like you just changed Jesus into what you needed him to be, I guess. Like I knew that there was a lot of strains of Protestantism that were progressive. I like understand that. I mean, especially in Seattle, I get it, right? I did not know like the degree to which this stuff went. Okay.
You saw the new Lutheran thing they put out a few
No.
They put out some new like from the Lutheran Synod. It was like their new like Magna Carta essentially for how they were going to be leading Lutheran ideology and thought going forward. And it was like I saw the Prudentialist had a whole thing about it.
I'm gonna need to check his thing out. Then I know that the Anglican Church like has completely changed their, I don't know if they call it a catechism, I guess. I don't know. I'm like you know, whatever. They're fucking their views on homosexuality, right? And that's really changed a lot of things. And I mean, look, that's a whole fucking can of worms to get into specifically, but I mean, what I will say is it's just like the Bible is very clear about things, okay? And about a number of things. And well, so okay, I don't want to get bogged down. I'm bogging myself down. I went into this place, man, and it is like, bro. The thing that was crazy to me is I walk in and it's nothing but Black Lives Matter and trans pride flags like everywhere.
Wow.
And I know, and they have like gender neutral bathrooms.
Dude, what?
Shit. And like, I mean, at this point, I don't actually understand what's religious about this other than just like a tax category, right? And dude, listen, like if people like that want to decide that they want to like, you know, donate cans of food and like do, you know, good acts of service and shit like that, like that's great. It's not Christianity, you know. And I walk in, the only bit of scripture that I see in the entire fucking place, besides I guess like the cross, right, which isn't a crucifix, but I guess that's more normal with like Protestants, right? Like,
yeah, you're gonna get the cross without you don't get the crucifix in
you don't get the
Protestant Christianity.
Yeah, which is, you know, that's fine, I guess. Well, whatever. I'm not gonna get into that, but like the only scripture that I see in the entire place is just like a little like quilt, right, with like patches drawn by children of like little scenes from the Bible, and it's all like 5, and it's cute, right? I mean, it's like you know, like Moses doing this, and you know, it's all flowery, like, and it's like 5-year-olds, so it's like words are all written wrong, and like people look like little bizarre oblong stick figures and everything, right? But like, and I think this was unintentional, but it's this crazy thing of just being like it's all, and there's pictures all over the church of being like, this is like commemorating like people that were lynched. And
dude,
like,
what are you talking about, bro?
all civil rights shit.
That's
right?
crazy.
It's all civil rights shit, and the only Christian stuff is like, and I don't know that they were intending to do this, but it's like all relegated to just like quaint, like pat you on the head, you little simpleton, like young children art project.
That's crazy.
every single other thing is like is just like trans rights and fucking like black people hanging from trees and fucking environmental justice.
That's crazy
and, like,
imagery to throw in.
I'm not gonna lie. I straight up was like, "This is satanic." I felt a little bit like a little abuela walking in when I like saw that, and I was just like, I was not expecting this. I'm like instinctively making the sign of the cross on myself right now.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been into anywhere like that. Around here, you get a lot of Protestant churches with the gay flags outside, but I mean, you just kind of write that off and just be like, yeah, it's not a place I'm probably gonna visit. But yeah, I mean,
which in itself, even just that is just like I gotta be honest. I just don't know how you can contradict scripture that directly.
I think with with a based understanding of what the LGBTQ plus is and how it ties into like global neoliberalism and the regime in power, etc. I think that it's a lot easier to be like, well, how could you ever have that there?
That's true.
Like, I think that like I think there's a push amongst Protestants to like try to modernize. There's always a push to try to modernize their church to get in front of young people. And I think they're trying.
Catholic Church too, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, I think but the Catholic Church does like, they have so much more built-in protections against that kind of stuff that sometimes
we have way more stopgaps.
Yeah, and way more hierarchy, which is like sometimes can be problematic in certain ways as well, but also prevents some of this kind of stuff from happening because it's going to move at a lot slower pace and get in front of a lot more eyes. And so like, I don't know, the last biggest thing the Catholic Church had was like Vatican II, I think, probably. I don't think there's been like a Vatican III, but where essentially they just kind of re-upped things and just kind of changed some of the ways they were teaching certain things. But it wasn't including gay shit. And I mean, whatever, homosexuality and pride.
That gay shit.
But I think that there's a big push amongst people, and I think that a lot of it they're trying to embody the nature of like Christ's message of acceptance, of love, etc. And they're trying to be like, listen, we need to extend this amongst all the people in our society. So we need to let gay people know that like they're welcome in our table. That doesn't mean that we're, like saying, hey, you should be gay, blah, blah. But like, I mean, like, Jesus wouldn't turn away a gay person or a trans person or anything like that if they're interested in hearing the word. If they have ears to hear, let them hear. So, I mean, and they do. So they have ears and they could absorb it. So these people are not beyond saving, and they should be welcomed in, and they should be accepted into the table. And so I think that like there's this wrong-headed approach to be like, well, what we need to do is fully embrace that in order to make that obvious. And then it works its way into like people are just working on this ideology subconsciously now too. And so like you have a bunch of classical liberals and neolibs that are members of Protestant churches across the United States that are just like, that's the ideology that's latently working through them, even though they also, go to church or whatever. And so I don't think that I don't think that they read like the homosexuality stuff in the Bible. They're like, that's just not modern. Like that's just a translation that doesn't translate to modern age, is what they think.
Well, there's just, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's just cognitive dissonance. I mean, at that point, I mean, it's just crazy. But I mean, it is a big book, I guess, so you can it's not hard to just ignore stuff, right?
Well,
but,
I think it's like the spirit versus the content, right? It's like, well, what's the spirit of the message in the Bible versus what is the actual individual things like do you chop off a sinner's, like, do you actually chop off a hand if it offends you, kind of thing, or do you like is that something that's more symbolic?
But that's literally an example of something that's literally
strictly
not
symbolic
meant to be. Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, like, I don't know. It was an interesting thing you just brought up because this has been okay. All right, right. So like, and this is just, I think that people just need to just understand maybe a little bit more complexity with things because what it is, and I don't know, that's kind of an annoying guy thing to say in most situations. But like, I have someone very close to me who
is, you know, in the alphabet milieu, right? The gays, right? And like, and, you know, it gets into it gets into the gender stuff too, right? And this is someone very dear to me, okay? And I basically have said to them outright, like I've gone to bat for them with other people in our life, right? And been like, look, like you're gonna treat this person with basic dignity. You know, I've gone to the mat for this person several times, right? And I'm not trying to break my arm, jerk myself off here or anything. It's just like, no, like you can't bully people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can't bully people. Now, having said that, like I literally don't agree with this person's fucking lifestyle, and I've said this to them to their face. I'm just like, I just don't think that this is like a good way to live.
Right.
But like, I'm not gonna mistreat you.
Right.
Like that doesn't even make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that literally doesn't make any sense. It's just like it's like you know, I cohabitate with my fiance and we have premarital sex.
Right.
Okay. I'm allowed to go to church. I'm not allowed to receive the Eucharist because I'm living in sin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not anyone bullying me.
Right.
Okay. And so I don't know, just threading this fucking needle of just being like, no, like literally, I just don't think that I have issues with this, right? But like if I choose to go a step further and start actively being cruel to you,
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing entirely. And it was my choice to do that, and it's the wrong choice.
Right.
And it's fundamentally it's not a Christian way of handling.
Right. I think for me it's like I don't want a church that is supporting that ideology, or that is flaunting it, or that is really even condoning it. But I think that the true spirit and nature of the church and of a Christian life would be to be accepting and welcoming of any individual. And so that would mean that you would treat them the same. You wouldn't point fingers and call them a sinner. You wouldn't do this and that, the other. You would just simply welcome them to the table, let them hear the message. If the message resonates with them, then they'll start to work on it. They'll start to consent to Christ in their life, and they'll work these things out themselves. And if they want spiritual direction, they'll come and they'll ask for it. Or in moments, you'll see that there are moments that you can offer that. But I don't think that. I think that it's a wrong-headed approach to try to go up to anyone else and work on what their sin is. I think that's ultimately up to you. It's an individual thing. I think that any type of compulsory behavior is not really part of the Christian message. And so I think that it's up to them to work it out on themselves. I think that it's not a high priority for me in my own spiritual journey to tell other people what they should or shouldn't do. And so for me, it's like I get a little bit of a distaste when I see people being like, oh, well, like the church is like against gays. It's like, okay, well, it's not really, but like the way they're living and like maybe they're not, maybe the fornication that they're doing and stuff like that. There are things that they're living that's maybe not good for them, and it's not good for their spiritual progression and stuff like that. But it's not really for you to say that or to determine that for them. That's on them to work out with Christ and within their own spiritual director when they ask for that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like I think we're pretty close on this. I think just the only thing is just like I wouldn't like force this on anyone, you know, through like the violence of the state or anything. But I am, you know, if someone, you know, I'm gonna be honest about just being like, I like don't really think that this is like a pro-social lifestyle,
right?
And like that's basically my position on it.
You're
and
staying
like,
up too late. You're dancing too much with too many strangers.
Yeah, exactly. You're engaging in behaviors that literally overwhelmingly lead to anal cancer. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, again, like if I showed up to mass and someone was just like, you're cohabitating with your with your partner, with your fiance, and so we're gonna just treat you like shit and not allow you here. Like, well,
Right. It's like that's none of
you
your
know, I
business.
mean,
But if like, you have a strong tradition in your church that you have to be abiding by X rules in order to participate in X ritual, then of course.
it literally like people are literally allowed to. This is like burnout society. Okay, like it doesn't need to all be positive.
Right.
Okay, there can be negation.
Right.
Okay, and like there's fucking rules. And honestly, I wouldn't want. And I don't want to act like they're equivalent because they're not really equivalent. But I'm drawing the comparison between like fornicating, and with like homosexuality. And you know, the fact is like I also don't want. I would be put off by like going to church and having people be like, "Oh, it's completely fine."
Yeah,
that you guys are
premarital
doing
sex
that."
doesn't matter at all. Fuck yeah, get up here,
No,
take
it's
the
like no,
acres.
it's like yeah, no, exactly, right? It's like no, like again, like keep the. It doesn't need to be this constant, exhausting, constant, relentless wave of the positive.
Right.
Okay, like there gets to be negative space,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's this assumption that's made. It's this assumption that's made where like not supporting a certain lifestyle is like mistreatment.
Right.
You know, and you know, it's just not.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not.
I think it's just about where the focus of your religious life lies, right? It's like, is the focus of your religious life to find a rule book, or is it to find a transcendent value and, you know, path for life? And I think that for me, it's like, I don't think that it's sole purpose or even it's like most useful.
Is the rule
Yeah, I
book.
don't think that's the most root. I think that obviously like that is how you build tradition, and the rules like they're important, and that like, you know, there are things that you follow obviously and they lay them out very clearly in them and stuff like that, but I don't think that that's like the heart of the message is not the content but the spirit of it. And I think fundamentally that leads into a lot of gray area, and that's where you get these kind of backwards attempts of trying to, you know, bring together these very disparate points of view, like the LGBTQ plus whatever flag at the church, where you're like, that doesn't really work. That can't really work together. One of these things is kind of now going to be dominating the other. I think that like, I don't know. I just think that there are things that I think the spirit of the message is more important than the rules, but I think that like the rules are still there in order to inform the spirit of the message, but it's just like dialectical and what do you focus on, right? In your day to day. And I think that like as an individual, it's more important to focus on the spirit, and how that actually moves you to act on a day-to-day basis rather than like just trying to like understand what are rules you need to go by like Jordan Peterson mode.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely like more fond of rules than you are in this way, but like we largely like agree on this, and ultimately again like the point that you made just about like also just understanding that there's like an organizational material reality to that stuff,
Yeah.
that is beyond just like the concept of being gay.
Yeah.
That like it is also just like the spearhead of like neo-colonial force.
Mm-hmm.
Is really fucking important to focus on, and that also is generally just like I think an easier page to get some people on,
Right.
you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's the base, like the basis for like that type of ideology is based in like a mode of thinking that's pretty, I would say, diametrically opposed to most like Christianity principles.
well, exactly, and so that's where it's just like if you, in like a really practical way too, like if you want to as a Christian oppose that kind of stuff, then like I don't also want to be hearing you contradicting yourself by embracing basic assumptions of liberalism,
Right.
And all of this shit. I mean, just honestly, just like even just like listening to Christians just like fucking go to bat for fucking you know, capital
and shit like this, and just this hyper individualistic way of looking at things is kind of nauseating to me. And the fact that they aren't feeling there's the cognitive dissonance. There's a contradiction there, and the things they're saying directly lead to this. The only thing that's forbidden is to forbid, and like it's the worst thing one could even possibly imagine in the world to deny someone their. It's just, come on, dude. I mean, this is literally a religion. Why am I needing to explain this? But
yeah, I think that it's kind of people just not being fully aware of the experience that they're in and the material forces that are shaping the ideologies that they hold. And so like they have this base ideology that's created by the base structure of reality, the productive forces, capitalism, liberalism, etc. And that's really fundamentally what's informing their thought. And then they're also engaging in Christianity on maybe a level that's not quite as deep as what is actually forming their day-to-day ideology. And so their ideology is overpowering it.
Yeah, 100. It's like a cargo cult. They're just going through the basic symbols of what they were raised with without any of the actual underlying meaning.
Yeah, I think that's most people that participate in religion in general. Even if they, I think that, I don't know. I think a lot of people don't have a genuine experience with it. And that's because they haven't really had a genuine experience with themselves and how they're living and like being able to place themselves within their own experience.
Yeah, I don't think they've had a genuine experience with God.
Right.
And I think that this is a big problem that you run into with just people that were like raised in
100%.
And they don't come to it from a place where they understand the outcomes first, right?
Yeah, I was raised in religion, and then through youthful revolt, etc., it was like, oh, wait a minute. And I think the version of the religion that I got when I was young wasn't something that had heart that I needed to hear. It was something that was more disconnected, I think, from spirit, and just not, I don't know, Southern Protestant kind of stuff that's not exactly scratching the itches that I wanted it to. And I think that when I, in my youth, I was like, oh, well, this shit's dumb. Like, fucking, of course you're not living in a whale 3 days, bleh, and shit like that. And then I was like, I'm out of here. And then like through living and through my own personal experiences with nature and life and spirituality and God, and also through all sorts of ridiculous bullshit I've done and learned from and circumstances I've been in and stuff, kind of came back full circle to a more healthy and genuine understanding and interest in the religion itself, and then within the spirituality itself. And now I believe I have a lot more firm grasp on it and a more genuine, earnest experience of it than I did previously. And I think that I think a lot of people need that, and I don't really know if that happens for a lot of people. And everyone's on their own journey, so they can get it wherever they can get it, and however it helps them out, that's good. And I think that not everyone is going to be on the same pages and in the same things spiritually, and that's okay. But for me personally, I needed something that was more, I don't even know, something that was just, that spoke to me more than what it was. And I think I had to find it on my own a little bit, and kind of had the G.K. Chesterton thing of like heading out on the boat, searching for the new lands, coming back all the way around the world, landing on your own shores, realizing how beautiful they were in the first place, and thinking that this must be somewhere completely new. And you realize, oh, I just didn't understand the place I had left.
Based.
Yeah.
It's so fucking based. No, and that's where, it reminds me of like Rumspringa, I think is how you pronounce it. The
Amish.
That the Amish do, right? Like you gotta send your young out there, right? And just kind of get your it's like for me, right? I'm like very excited to get married, right? I like am capable of loving another person in a way that I was not before I had just like absolutely had my heart broken.
Mm,
You know what I
mhm,
mean?
definitely.
Like being even at least thinking, right, that you're in love with somebody, and then just absolutely having your heart just smashed, dude, just into 1,000 pieces and burned, is the way that you learn to really meaningfully love another person.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's like that with religion as well, of just like know why you're doing this in the first place. But here, I feel like this honestly is kind of a good place to
Yeah, we
call
could
it.
stop it
Really.
here. I mean, shit, dude, we've gone for 2 hours and 40 minutes, so
Holy shit, this is almost a 3-hour episode.
yeah.
Well, hey, this is making up for the long ass delay.
Yeah, and I figure we probably just drop it all as one, just because
I say we do.
it's gonna be difficult to figure out a way to split it in a way that makes sense to make them both like one will just be completely different for the Patreon than for the free. So let's just do this all as one free, and then we can work on Patreon later in the week or whatever.
Yeah, I say we do it.
All right, word, man. All right, Slav, have a good week, man. Enjoy Memorial Day. I hope you're off.
God bless you, buddy, and yeah, I hope everybody else has a good Memorial Day. I'm not going to be off.
Oh, damn, buddy. But I hope you still have a good day.
Well, dude, I like work on my fucking computer at home. Every day's a fucking vacation for me.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. All right, man. Well, Godspeed. God bless.
Take care, bud.